Your local writers group is crap. Stop burning off your free time in the presence of introverted do-nothings. Instead, join the Gosslings Writers Group live stream and podcast. The Gosslings, a digital gang for writers. Writers who actually write stuff, who use typewriters. Writers who name their pit bulls Hemingway. Writers who write all the people who've ever offended them into their stories, then murder the shit out of them. The Gosslings. We don't always act pretentious, but when we do, we wear f***ing ascots. Welcome to the Gosslings.
Write like a man. Use a typewriter.
Greetings, everyone.
Hello, everyone.
I am Nick.
And I am Jonathan.
We are the Gosslings. You join us today. We'll begin with our toast. Take up the broken sword of your father.
And strike down the darkness.
Cheers.
Cheers. You know, it's a pretty groovy background music. Like, we could probably just let that roll for...
I know. I'm tempted to.
You ever tempted just to, like, let it roll and see how long it lasts? You know, how long we can milk it for?
You know, I can milk it actually pretty far out.
Yes.
And I can play it on a loop, but I dare not do that to you and our listeners.
We
but I
are-
love it.
We're like one step away from just having, like, perpetual background music.
And that's free
know,
music from the
copyright free.
YouTube
Yes.
library right there. And I was like,
Yeah.
all right, this is mine. I own
Non-copyright
this now.
infringible
You won't
music.
find it anywhere else on YouTube.
Yeah.
It's great. Well, man, we are excited today. We
yeah.
have a wonderful guest. I've been following her on Instagram for a while, and
Yeah.
I'm so impressed. It's funny. Most of my stuff on Instagram is about typewriters and our guests. And I started seeing these amazing posts, these beautiful machines
Yeah.
of this lady who she's an accomplished author.
Yeah.
And she has this love of typewriters. I'm like, I've got to meet her.
Yeah.
I've got to meet her. And she was gracious enough
Fashion
to come on.
designer,
Yeah. Award-winning
novelist.
author. Yep. Award-winning author.
photographer.
Oh, phenomenal
Amazing
photographer. And fashion designer, mom of 3,
Yeah.
and typewriter aficionado.
Yeah, she's like the Renaissance woman of,
Yeah.
you know,
Of
the
writers.
modern age. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's pretty awesome.
So let's bring her on, ladies and gentlemen,
Yeah.
right now.
Without further ado,
the one and only Natasha Rawls. Hey, Natasha.
hey Natasha,
How you guys doing? Hey,
not
everybody.
bad. How about you?
I'm all right. Doing great.
Good. We are so glad you joined us. Look at those
Yeah.
typewriters.
I
Well,
know.
at least that
Oh
one.
my gosh,
Oh, yeah.
Nick
This
is-
is
Beautiful.
right here. He's the rock star. This is Mr. Roman.
Mr. Roman.
And I call him that. You know, of course, he's a secretarial.
Oh wow,
Mr. Roman. So, of course, he's my little sticker machine because I try getting all the paint off. You know, I work on them too.
I noticed that.
Getting all the paint off of them. But
You actually do your own typewriter repairs.
yes, I do.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, I have to, you know, because the next closest people to me are 2.5 hours and 3 hours away. So
Okay.
Yeah, there's
You know.
Nashville typewriter.
Mhm.
There's
Mhm.
Kirk up here, and he's like on the north end of Nashville. And then I
Yeah.
think the only other guy that I was able to find was down in Alabama. I think maybe around
Mhm.
Birmingham. So do you are you going to eventually, or do you already repair typewriters for other people, like on a customer basis, or is it just for you?
Actually, I've done it remotely. Like people have
Really?
reached out to me on Instagram to
Yeah.
help them work on their typewriters. They see that I have the same model that they do,
Yeah.
and they will say, "Hey, what about this spring? Where does it go? You know, and this and that." So I
Mhm.
talk to mine and see. So I've helped people remotely so far, yes. But no one around me owns a typewriter. Or if they do, they're not into it to that effect. They're trying to sell it, not fix it.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, if you ever got into like full fledged like the typewriter repair business, it's a starved market.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh yeah,
I know
I
we've been
I
desperate.
mean, I can do it for you, yes, sir. The only thing I don't do, and I know this is a good part of the market when it comes to the carriage wheel. I haven't done that, you know, repairing carriage wheels. Now I have done the carriage straps, strings. That's important too, because most of the machines that don't work, that's the reason they're broken. The straps,
Mhm.
are broken. And the rest probably just need some oil in, something like that. So
Mhm.
that's
Yeah.
the majority of the reason why, and I can do that. I can definitely help with that. Yeah, and cleaning and taking the gunk out, all that. Yeah.
Well, that seems to be a lot of what it is just like knocking the gunk off, because
Mhm.
most of these things they've sat in basements or attics for decades, you
Mhm.
know, and most people, their grandkids or their great grandkids fish them out and start typing on them and
Mhm.
fall in love with them, and then something breaks, you know, because it hasn't had
Mhm.
any TLC in decades.
Where
And
where did you find Mr. Rona?
Mr. Rona's story is it was Facebook Marketplace, and I saw it. I was like, oh, okay. And of course, the picture looks better than when you get up there and see the thing.
Right. Yeah.
I love the mustache. I love the mustache on the carriage return.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah, he works great too. Don't let the looks fool you. He can do it all. He's amazing.
Got it where it counts. I like him already. Yeah.
But I got him from that, and they had him on the porch ready for me to pick it up. It was $40. It's below my budget, so
Yeah.
I picked it up, and I was like, okay, this is going to be a project. So I put it in my car and brought it home, scrubbed it, cleaned it, made sure the inside was running good, because really that's the most important part to me. I don't break my machines down completely and do all that, but I just want to make sure that the inside sprayed out with from spiders and stuff like that, because I've had spiders happen.
Ooh.
Yeah, but with him, like I was saying, I kept scrubbing, and the more I scrubbed, the more paint came off. And so I said, no. We're just going to put stickers on you and be done.
Yep.
So it's like green keys. So it's obviously a Secretariat model.
Yes, it is.
But with the green plastic keys, that's a 50s model? Is it a 1951? Okay.
From the typewriter database, yes. That's
okay.
Right.
Wow.
That's
and
and
have you...
that they don't have another 51, like it's not listed. Mine was the first 51 listed.
Really?
Wow.
Because there was a guy on the Instagram comments in there, if you'll see, he said, I don't think he has a 1951 on the list. I don't think he does. Now, so I went ahead and put mine in there as the only 51 model. So
how cool.
Yep.
Man, that's awesome. Well, I would love to throw some questions to you. Of course, you've created this wonderful work, Abandoned North and South Memphis, What's Left Behind, where you have a fascination with exploring abandoned places.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you go in, you take these amazing pictures, you try to learn about the story. Why are they abandoned? What happened? Who lived here? So forth. And you put together this really great synopsis of some really interesting places in the Memphis area. And so a lot of my questions kind of revolve around that, but I also have questions specifically about typewriters and so forth. My first question is, of all the abandoned places in your book, which one did you find gave you the most inspiration for writing?
Oh, yeah.
That was the St. Thomas Catholic Church. The St. Thomas Catholic Church is that one with the big circle. I don't know if you remember, it's a big old circle in the middle of the top of the building. And I shot there the other day, a model, for 2 days now. I've shot a model there recently. And so that is a very inspirational place for me, artistically, and as far as writing too. I dug so much into that building, and at first I was only able to take external pictures of it. I wasn't able to get in, right? But then my buddy Mark Harbin, I hope he's watching. That goes in there with me. If it wasn't for him, that book wouldn't have been possible, really, because he's from Memphis. I'm not originally from here, but I've always had an obsession with abandoned places and stuff like that. But we'll get into that later. Whenever. But
where are you from originally, Natasha?
Little Rock, Arkansas.
Okay, cool.
And so he went up there one day and found out that it was open, and I had already sent all the pictures to the publisher. And I said, it's open. So I had to run down there and take pictures of it real quick. And I said, hey, may I please send you these pictures? You're going to want these. And she was like, yes, but go ahead. It was a certain way I had to send it because they had already started the process. So I sent it to them, and it's in there. And that's the best one. That's my favorite out of all of them, and most inspirational, yes.
Awesome. Have you been back there multiple times?
Oh, yeah. Yesterday was the last time I was there. Just yesterday, I was shooting a model, and my D500 camera stopped working. Just stopped. And then the other camera, this is kind of the paranormal thing, sort of, and the other camera started shooting like over and over again by itself. So it's some weird stuff
kidding.
from yesterday. Yeah.
Wow.
But I love it. I mean, that's, you know, that building is really useful in a lot of ways.
That's awesome. That kind of leads
until the owner figures out that we use it.
Well, that was one thing I was kind of curious about.
Do you mean the Pope?
Right, yeah.
Yeah. My boyfriend said that the other day. He said, "How can you own a church?" Because again, Mark Harbin called the owner at one point because this guy who says he's over it or owns it, and he was like, "Well, he doesn't really want people going here because there's a lot of bird poop and stuff. He don't want to be responsible for the." You know, because you know what bird poop does to you.
Yeah, it can cause some kind of disease. You mentioned that in the book.
Yeah, and you can die from it. Yeah, I knew a lady whose husband died from it. So,
oh wow!
But that didn't scare me out evidently because I went on.
No, it doesn't. Good for you for that tenacity.
Yeah, he doesn't
usually
one in there, so you know. So he calls himself the owner. We don't know.
Okay.
Really. He's 3 hours from here. So
you know what?
Go in and
Good
he
enough. Yeah, you know,
and he's probably not watching this.
So, yeah,
we're probably
whatever.
We're all right.
So whatever. Well, that's the tough part about that kind of thing is, you know, do you risk it, or do you you know, ask for forgiveness rather than permission, or do you try and seek out people and provide waivers? You know, is each case kind of different, or do you have like a standard MO that you kind of run off of?
Well, my MO is we don't do breaking and entering. That's why, you know, when in the first place, when it wasn't available to open, we weren't going to break in. I was like, we're just going to be satisfied with the pictures that we have, which are amazing anyway, because the place has been sitting there and no one spray painted it. I mean, it's just beautiful. Nobody's done anything disrespectful to it. If anything, they added a piano, an organ, and they added a Bible, and they added, I mean, you'll see the pictures on my Instagram. They added stuff to the church.
Did see that. And it's beautiful. Those are really good pictures, by the way. It was with the male model, right, on top of the piano.
I remember seeing that.
Yeah. We didn't add that stuff. Somebody already had put that in. Yeah.
Really?
Well, we got
That's so bizarre.
Wow.
Very bizarre. Yeah.
Interesting. Well, getting back to the paranormal part of this.
Yeah, there are two things that tickle Nick's fancy: typewriters and creepy ghost stories.
Yeah, they really do. But it's interesting. You have abandoned places, right? So there are a couple, and like there's the old brick church, which is the first one you mentioned in the book, which was a Civil War hospital. And every time I hear Civil War hospital, like bells start going off. Oh, I got to ask about the paranormal.
Yeah, and then us being in south of Nashville, like, dude, it's all over the place down here.
Yeah, big time. And then there's the Firestone building. And they were going to put that youth golf course on it. And they started the construction. They found all these tunnels and catacombs and things. Yeah, I'm like, man. And these are like the first two that you mentioned in your book. And then there's some other creepy ones, like the house with the TV with the word "die" spray painted. I mean, just some crazy stuff.
Oh my goodness! I said I got to use that. I actually used that in the photo shoot, but you'd have to go to my artistic nude page to see that. So
okay.
Yeah.
So let me ask you a question. First of all, do you believe in ghosts or the paranormal?
I do believe in the paranormal. Okay. I've seen where the black images of, you know, the black, what do you call those? The apparitions.
Shadow people.
Word? Shadow people. Yeah. One approached me at night. Y'all don't think I'm crazy, but I don't care because Paul.
Nope. I've seen them.
It was in this room. Okay. I was asleep. It was like 2 or 3 in the morning, maybe. And I opened my eyes slowly. And this thing was in my face like this, and it was moving.
Yep.
It was moving like that. And I thought it was a person broke in the house because my daughter wouldn't do that. She would just wake me up and say, "Mama," or something.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
The thing was hovering in my face, and I just started punching. At it.
Good for you, Natasha.
I just started punching, and it disappeared. And that's for real. I mean, recently my aunt Geraldine had died. So I don't know if that was her. Poor Geraldine, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, Geraldine, if that was you. Don't sneak up on me like that.
Yeah. Ring the doorbell next time, Grandma. Come on.
And then my daughter, sadly, earlier this year, she lost her father to COVID.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And sorry to hear that.
Yeah, and so before he passed, though, because we had a feeling that was going to happen, because he, sadly, she saw a dark apparition in her room, and and even before that, she was having dreams of him passing before he did.
Really?
Oh, and I sometimes have those things, but I don't talk about them much. I tell Paul, and then Paul be like, "You was right. You said that." And but, I mean,
that's a tough thing to talk about, because like you have to be so guarded about who you open up to about stuff like that, because it's the kind of thing,
because they think you're cuckoo, or they want to
think you're crazy,
so you don't know which way to go.
But it's almost like a weird, like, canary in the coal mine, or secret handshake or signal for other people who have had that stuff, because once you mention it, anybody else who's had that happen to you, you automatically will connect with. Like they'll come find you at the dinner party. Like, you had that happen, I had that happen too. That's real.
So have you ever had any
read tarot cards back in the day? I used to do tarot cards, and I did them.
Okay.
And I stopped because each thing I predicted came true. Each one. And I said, no, I'm not doing it anymore, because the last one, I didn't want to find the death card, and that's why I quit.
Yeah. Well, I was going to ask you why most of the time when people encounter stuff like that, it's because, and Nick and I, both being Christians, we talk about this a lot. It's kind of because you're on the spirit realm's radar.
There's something kind of puts you on.
You're no longer realm neutral, of awareness. And so I was going to ask you, what was it that that you think maybe put you on that radar? Do you think it was your involvement with tarot that maybe opened that door?
I think it was before that.
Really?
I was a kid. I'll tell you something strange about me, and everybody knows.
Cool.
Like
that's what we're all about, Natasha. Come on, hit me with it.
Yeah.
But so when I was a kid, since I was a kid, I always liked dead old actors.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't like the guys that were in the soap operas, and the guys that were in the movies lately, and all that. They had all these posters of whoever was hot back in the 80s. Who was that? Whatever hot guy was going on. They had posters
Tom Selleck or Harrison Ford or whatever. Tom Cruise.
And Prince, maybe Michael Jackson, AC/DC, and all that. I had people like Harold Lloyd, the silent actor, on my wall. I had Robert Montgomery, an actor from the 30s who is the father of Elizabeth Montgomery. I had him all over the wall.
Really?
No, yeah.
Cool.
And I wrote, when I was a kid, I wrote a letter to Harold Lloyd as a kid. Now I'm a kid, remember this. I wrote a letter to Harold Lloyd and to Martin Luther King. This little note, right? And I stuck it under the microwave. And the next day or so, I don't remember how long it took, probably the next day, that I went to check for the letter, and it wasn't there. Now, it was far underneath, because I stuck it way under there. I don't know why I chose a microwave to make the waves. I don't know. But
who knows?
I chose the microwave, and my family didn't clean under there like that. I mean, they cleaned. It was clean, but it wasn't anything that we dusted regularly or anything like that. Because it didn't get dirty. My family, kept a nice, clean house. So they wouldn't have checked. They wouldn't have picked it up. It was mysteriously gone. So I don't know. But I always had a thing for that, like old actors who are already long dead. And my best friend, if she's watching, she knows, because I have a headache about it all the time. I used to travel down to the library in the bus, and we would take the money from my uncle. He kept like a bucket of quarters. So to catch the bus, I would go in his room and get some quarters, and we would catch the bus and go down there and print pictures, because back in those days, we didn't have a computer. You lucky kids, today, no computer, no printers, all that.
They don't know anything about the Dewey Decimal System and paying for photocopies.
I had to pay for all that stuff, and then microfiche,
borrowing
stuff on microfiche, about my paper and stuff. So that's how. I guess I don't know if that's it or what. I mean, there is contact with spirit realm and all that. I do believe in that.
Yeah. How old were you when you put the letter under the microwave, when you started noticing things happening?
About
your best guess.
Maybe 6, 7-ish.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just remember
Yeah.
my first huge crush was Harold Lloyd with those glasses. And
Well, you know what though? There might be some sort of correlation between analog tech and something regarding the supernatural. I mean, there's just it's all frequency, it's all waves, it's all you can like get pretty weird with it with like string theory and talking about like vibrations and sounds and
Right.
so that actually that does not surprise me in a strange way.
What about in some of these abandoned places? Have you ever had any strange paranormal? Well, you mentioned your cameras at St. Thomas Church. What are some things that have happened or you've experienced while you were in some of these abandoned places?
Let me see what I put down because I wanted to hold on. I can say by memory through a porch once. I mean, just stuff I can tell you. I fell through a porch. That was great, but it didn't stop me.
Were you going in or coming out?
Going in.
Okay, yeah.
Right on. Cool. I still found a way because it was looking bad, but I still did it. And so I went through that, and we were on the first floor of the tobacco factory. Second floor. I'm sorry, second floor, third. We just had like 4 floors. It was either one of those middle floors. We were walking, and we felt an indentation. You know how you walk and you can feel the floor.
Yeah.
And we were like, hurry up, get off this board or whatever we were stepping on. And when I went below that floor later, we realized we were on a thin piece of wood. Like they could have just snapped if we had just jumped.
Wow.
We would just snap. We would have been 25 feet,
Oh, wow.
Next level. Yeah.
Man.
And, let me think of one other thing here.
So shadow people and then guardian angels.
Yeah, then guardian angels too.
Hoisting up cracking particle board.
It was like a particle board. It really was. Wow. And I told you about the camera stopped working yesterday.
Yeah.
Oh, and someone stole my equipment. Somebody stole my equipment in there once, and that's not paranormal. That's just idiots. I had my back turned. We had left the little section where we were shooting, and came back, and a lot of my stuff was gone. And I was so mad because they took my changing room. I had a changing room you have to send for. And so I was so mad. I said, I hope that thing exploded on them when they were trying.
Like one of those, like it's a portable changing station.
It's a portable. Yeah. So of course these idiots that stole it. 9 times out of 10, they don't know what they stole. So they probably opened it and exploded on them. I hope it's
Yeah, I do too. You know what? I'm with you, Natasha. Yeah.
Wrong, but man, that hurt my feelings. And they stole my strobe. I had a strobe and everything in there. But they didn't steal any cameras. I had my cameras on.
Yeah, you had your cameras on you. You mentioned that in the book. I remember that.
That's a pain that really smarts too. I remember I had a Nikon F2 that I loved. That was like from the 70s, a 35 millimeter manual SLR, and I had it in an ammo can that I had like lined with foam, and then so I could like all of my lenses and everything fit perfectly in it, and then I just like set it down one night in like a Walmart parking lot in 2010, and I don't know what happened, if I drove off without it or if it got stolen while I was putting the buggy back. It was gone, and I have not seen it since. And like, dude, it really does, like, that sort of thing, like, kind of just right in the right in the chest a little bit. I'm glad it wasn't your cameras though.
Yeah, me too. I was too smart for that one, but
smarter than me.
And we thank God we were at a financial ability to replace the strobe. And stuff like that, but I mean, man, it hurt my feelings. I even stole the little bag I had. I had gotten this purse from Target or Target.
Target.
That's what I call it.
Yes.
Target.
Yeah.
I had just and they stole the bag, and so I went back and immediately bought another one because that's how much I love that bag. They stole the bag and everything. I was
man.
Yeah. That's what our 94-year-old British great aunt calls it too. Or Audrey.
Target.
Target. Yeah. And Home Depot.
Yeah. What? Another question about some of those little more hair-raising experience, whether it's paranormal or not, just overall, what do you think has been the scariest thing that's happened to you while you've been abandoning these places?
the scariest thing is knowing. I mean, to happen to me, it was after my stuff had gotten stolen. And Mark actually went back there with a friend of his to help look for my things. I mean, they were head forward, going in there like, "Oh, we're gonna find this. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do this." And but they didn't. Of course, whoever it was, they just drove off with it probably. But the long story short is that knowing, because the friend knew at any time there could be at least 10 people in there with us, stealing copper, doing all types of stuff that we have no idea about. And that's true because we went into one floor of that tobacco building, and somebody had a bag of, a backpack was on the floor. And of course we got nosy. It was like, why is this backpack just in the middle of the floor? Open it up, and it's like wire, copper wrapped up. So at any minute, any time, could be at least 10 people in there. And I personally never saw those people, but they were there evidently, because the minute you turn your back, something's going. Mark, when he was in there before, he saw people in there, with him, and the guy waved at him. He said he waved back, and they went on.
That's a good sign, at least. At least they're not like pointing at him.
But I don't see anything exciting more than that. I mean, I've been rather blessed in doing that. I mean, because I haven't run into any dead bodies. I mean, people who have written me said that, up north, they run into quite a few dead bodies in doing this because, sadly, the homeless go in there and live, and it's like 20 degrees outside, and they don't wake back up, unfortunately. So,
or people go in there and they overdose,
Yes, that too.
Yeah.
But I have
good for you.
Yeah, but I'm, I want to
speak to your tenacity and your courage, Natasha. I mean, come on, that could happen at any time. So kudos to you for
there was an
abandoned
for real. There was an abandoned place that Jonathan and I went into. We were working on we were doing construction. We were renovating this old historic home, and it was an antebellum home. And there's a crew of about maybe 5 or 6 guys. And right next door to it, the Fuzzy Duck. And right next door to it, there was another antebellum home that had been abandoned, and it was condemned. It couldn't be. It was a historic landmark. They couldn't destroy it, but it couldn't be used for anything. So it just had to sit as it was.
Yeah.
And the real estate, the company that owned that property also owned the one we were renovating. Oops, excuse me. And so we were curious. We just wanted to see the inside of it. So Jeff, our boss, was able to talk to us like, "Hey, do you mind if we just go in and look around and see what's inside this old house?" So we went.
Big mistake. So dumb,
dude. So here you have 6 guys like holding each other.
Yeah.
As we're like looking, walking around, looking through this. It was
all
the
suburbanite, mid 30s, late 30s,
in the middle of. Downtown Columbia, Tennessee. Yeah. But it was
like the lamest mystery machine crew ever.
There's no way I would go in there. Yeah, in middle of the day.
And it's still creepy.
And there's no way I'd go in there alone or with just 1 or 2 other people. No way.
It's how every dumb horror movie starts, basically.
That's right. That's right. We went down in the cellar for some ridiculous reason. I got something about that. Yeah. Every horror movie I'd ever
just
seen.
To prove we're cool and tough.
Right. And we're neither.
Yeah, neither. Yeah, we're dumb.
But that was with like 5 or 6 guys, and we all stayed real close. It's just a house.
Yeah, like halitosis close.
There was one room that I saw in the back. I couldn't go in. I couldn't even go in. It just looked dark. It looked wrong.
Yeah.
It just looked like something was just waiting for me.
One of the reasons why we
couldn't do it.
Why we admire what you do, because we've done renovation projects on older buildings, and you find some creepy stuff when you go in. Remember at the Foster building, that other building downtown Columbia, where there was this room upstairs on the 2nd floor that had an old waterbed and a bunch of old newspaper clippings plastered to the wall. It was True Detective kind of creepy. Yeah.
Well, Natasha, you mentioned one. There was this house that was sitting on maybe 30 acres or something, and you only saw it because you could only see it from the road because it was winter and there were leaves on the trees. And you guys were able to get in this house, and you discovered that whoever was there before had on the wall, there are pictures of Nazi newspapers.
Oh yeah.
And then
Yeah.
But then there was also like a bunch of other stuff. I can't remember what it was, but it was like totally opposite of what you'd
Yeah,
expect.
it had books about Angela Davis, the civil rights activist back in
Yeah,
the
that's
70s. It had Nazi film, and I even took some of the strips of film home. Like I kept some of it to see what's on the film. Because I really wanted to know, because I was doing film photography at the time, so I had the scanners and all that. So I took some reels, some reels of film to see what was going on, and yeah, it was just people in a bar. I mean, it wasn't nothing exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Nazi propaganda was out there in the yard, and when you go in, there was piles of African American history.
Really?
I'm like, huh? What is going on?
That's so weird.
That was
there
crazy.
is a story there.
Mm-hmm. Definitely, there's like two different households or something like that going on there. But let me tell you one thing about one house that we found that was paranormal. I almost forgot about this.
Absolutely.
It was back in the day before I started doing any of this urbexing. I mean, it was just me and my friends, but we were urbexing probably and didn't know it. And my ex, who's the father of my two boys. And it was another young lady that went with us and someone else. It was like four of us. And we went into this house that was down the street from the governor's mansion. At the time, I wonder if Clinton was in there. I think Clinton was in there then. Because I was raised down the street from the governor's mansion when Clinton was down there. So long story short, we went inside this house, right? And it had wrought iron doors, like the burglar doors and stuff. Mm-hmm. And we went around looking. It was interesting. We did that sort of thing. And the tub had a dome over it. I'll never forget, it had this porcelain dome decoration. Really? Yeah, it was strange. And when we were ready to leave the house, we couldn't get out.
No way.
We could not get out. Mm-mm. We had to scream, and like somebody was passing by. We was like, "Please let us out! Please open the door."
Whoa, really?
That is weird.
How old were you when this was going on?
In my 20s. It had to be like 22.
And how many of you were there?
Wait a minute, it was before my kids, so it was like 21. I had to be 21. Yeah.
How many of you were there in this?
It was four.
4 of you.
So 4 of you go into this house. You're in your 20s. You go into this house. You're looking around, and then you find the creepiest type of architecture and stuff inside. You get a weird feeling, and you're like, "I'm out of here." You turn around, you're locked in.
You get locked in.
No one leaves. It's like the event horizon of
And the only way we could get out because he tried, because my boyfriend at the time, he tried. He was like, "We can't get out the windows. We can't." He was going to bust something open. But I was like, no, we don't want to do that. We yelled out the door. And someone was walking by, was like, "Please, please." And they're looking at us crazy at first. It's like, "Why are y'all begging to leave this house? Can't you just turn the no?" We couldn't get out. We couldn't get through that. So somebody had to let us out. Yeah.
Were they able to easily let you out, or did they have to like break something outside?
No, they were easily let us out. It's just one of those lock things. They let us. They turned the thing and let us out.
And they're looking at you like you're crazy, and you're like, "You don't understand. Like, we couldn't leave."
It's probably just one of those snap lock things where if you don't have a key, you can't. I mean, it was just weird.
Maybe, but I don't know, man. That's still
and plus, with it being abandoned, it shouldn't have done that. It shouldn't. I don't.
That seems like a liability. For anybody who I mean, that's kind of the weird thing about the way at least Tennessee law is written is there are like squatters' rights and like trespassing rights. Like we had a similar situation where my family had a 100-acre farm, and there was an old dilapidated house and an old barn on it, and they ended up tearing down the barn because they were afraid if somebody trespassed onto the property and it collapsed during a storm or something, and the person in there, if no matter who they were trespassing, if they died, then we could be sued for it. So they tore down. I mean, just crazy stuff like that. So that's whatever.
But that's a creepy experience. That type of thing happening where you go in, you freaked out, you try to leave, you can't, you're locked in.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like the worst timeshare sales pitch ever. It's easy to get in, but there's no way out. You're not leaving alive.
It was actually a very pretty house. It was a brick house. I think it's still there. Most likely it is. I mean, somebody owns it now. At the time, it was empty.
And was it like you mentioned it was like a wrought iron like handle or something?
The doors were like burglar doors.
Okay, gotcha.
Isn't there, Natasha, you might be able to speak to this a little bit. Isn't there a correlation between wrought iron and keeping ghosts out? Have you ever heard of this?
No.
Yeah.
It's a new thing. Yeah, I just heard of that just a few weeks ago.
It's
I
kind of
think
like
the first time I heard
the
that.
same thing with like silver and vampires. Like there's a reason why a lot of old graveyards have wrought iron is to keep the ghosts in.
Interesting.
Because like they can't pass the it's I don't know where it came from. I don't know if it's Edwardian or Victorian or maybe even older than that.
Oh, it was our friend Adam in the UK that told us about that, right?
I think we had talked to him
We had
about
talked
it too.
about it.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
All right.
Anyways, we still got a ton of questions. So
I have a question. Speaking of those who have gone on before us,
okay.
why do you love Roger Moore so much?
Yes, we do want to know this. I mean, we do too.
Okay. Well, it's kind of embarrassing, but I mean, I've told the story 100 times. I was when I used to sew a lot. I'm sewing for for fashion shows, things like that. I had an upstairs studio in this house in Little Rock, and it was beautiful. It was a wraparound window. I just missed that place. But anyway, long story short, I was up there late one night. It was around 10 o'clock, and I was watching. I love old 1960s television shows and stuff like that. So his show came on, The Saint, and I knew about Roger Moore from James Bond and all that, but he wasn't my favorite Bond. Sorry, Roger. Sean was, James Bond, he didn't really get me in there, But one day I was watching it, and The Saint came on, and then he started talking. He broke the fourth wall and started talking to the television or through the television, and I was like, "Who is that?" Because he looked so much younger. It didn't look like him to me. I didn't put them together. And so he, I was like, who is that? And what is this? And next thing you know, just looking at him and watching that show regularly, he was the inspiration for my guy in this book, who was the 15-year itch. That's how this book happened.
Okay.
Was just from me watching The Saint. And
Awesome.
He's the guy who is the one that the woman cheats on her husband with. He's like, kind of like the guy he would play in some of his movies back in the day before he started doing James Bond. So he was, his name was Simon in the book, but, like Simon in the Saint. Yeah.
In the Saint, yeah.
Okay. I got a question for you. Walk Show Productions request that I ask you about Mr. Ed.
That was a show too as a kid. Oh man, I had a crush on Wilbur.
He was pretty dapper. Yeah.
He actually dated Marilyn Monroe for a second. He dated Marilyn Monroe back in the day.
Kidding. Hey, good for him.
Alan Young,
yeah. All right. I'm detecting
I like Mr. Ed too. I was huge into that. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. So Roger Moore, you mentioned him. I think I saw in one of your posts. You call him your male muse, which I think is great. Yes. Which makes total sense because he was the inspiration for Simon in the book. Yes. Who would you say your female muse? If you had a female muse, who would it be?
Oh, that's a good question. Oh man. Because my female muse, if I had one for this story that I'm writing now. Yes. Okay. Alfred Hitchcock, the movie Marnie. I don't know if you've
seen that. No.
Yeah, it's about a woman who was, I guess, she was a kleptomaniac because she was molested as a child and stuff like that. So it was really interesting, like ahead of its time type of movie. And Sean Connery was the lead role.
He's got to watch it now.
I have to watch it. I do.
It's kind of not well known, but it's really good. It's 1964. Okay. The woman in it, her name is Tippi Hedren, the lead that she was in The Birds, if you remember.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So she was The Birds lead actress. So she again is the woman who suffers the 15-year itch in the book.
Gotcha.
She's Ava in the book. Ava, yeah. And I drew this picture. This is my original painting back from the 1991, 92, maybe. And I still have it back there somewhere. But this is what Ava would look like,
I forgot to mention that when we were introducing you. She's also a sketch artist.
Really?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
It's so interesting. You remind me of the polar opposite of something there's a book that I learned about earlier today. Never heard of it before. by Scott Adams called Loser Think. And it talks about how there was, and I learned about it from, I think there was like a Sam Hyde video that I was watching about this, how it talked about how there are people who, especially in today's today's day and age, which is it's so easy to just get by on technology and just exist, that like you don't have to be good at anything. You don't have to like really develop anything. You can just float, down the lazy river of life's current. And so there are these, what you find is that the people who have high intelligence, high IQ, or whatever proclivity they have, if they're masters at something, chances are that same sort of thought process will also work in multiple other fields. And it reminds me of you. You're like the opposite of what Scott Adams is warning us about in Loser Think. You're kind of like, truly like a Renaissance woman. You write novels, you do typewriters, you do fashion, steampunk fashion, I think, also. That's so cool.
Very cool.
Yeah. I mean, it just, the sketch artists, like the list just goes on and on. Do you find the photography? Do you find that the process that you apply to one, the thought process on your end sort of applies to others across the board, or do you constantly have to retool how you approach each field because you're in so many?
Right. When it came to sketching, it was just natural to me from elementary school. So it just came to me to do. My mom thought I was weird because I would draw animal heads on human bodies and stuff.
Cool. Yeah.
I had a friend who could draw better than me, and I just kind of picked it up. That's just always how I've done. I didn't go to school for sewing. I just picked it up. And another connection to the paranormal, if we want to go there about my sewing, could be my Aunt Rosie. My great Aunt Rosie is my grandmother's sister. She made all her own clothes. She was dapper. She was a beautiful dresser. Her name was Rosie. Rosie Stubblefield. Now we're Stubblefield, and that's what my cousin tells me today. Is that knowing everything that I do, she was like, "You're really a Stubblefield because we have multi talents. We're just like that, And even on the Rawls end, Lou Rawls may be my great uncle. I mean, we don't have proof, but the singer may be my great uncle. He did sing at a funeral of our, one of our family members. I just don't have proof. So that's why I don't go around, oh, that's my uncle.
Sure.
We do have a lot of talent on both ends, and that combines, and I guess that caused me. But let me finish about my Aunt Rosie, though.
Oh, yeah.
She passed away when I was 11. She's the reason I got my ears pierced. I mean, she did that for me and everything. And I ended up with her sewing machine. And I'm self-taught sewing. Everything I do is with sewing. I tried to hire people because I was just a sketch artist in high school. I would sketch a dress, and they would go somewhere else and have it done. Because I didn't sew. I wasn't interested in that. I wanted to hire a person to sew.
Yeah.
But I said, well, I can't do this. I tried hiring people. They didn't see the vision. So I just, long story short, I learned on my own. And next thing you know, I was picked up by a fashion designer who came, Koto Mamalu, who was in Project Runway.
Really?
She looked at my work and said, hey, I want you in my first winter show. And she put me in there, and she saw what from my own, and my ex-husband, I'm sorry, I put that in there. He bought me my first sewing machine.
Okay.
And that's how I made all that stuff too, was by him, doing that. And God rest his soul, he passed in October of 19. So yeah. But and when it comes to my writing, I used to write skits in junior high.
Oh, cool.
So
Okay.
I used to do that because it was this boy I had a crush on, but he didn't like me back. So I'd write mean things. I'd write whole skits and have people laugh.
We do that to this day.
Yeah.
I have all of my high school bullies in my books. They're in there. They died. They die miserably.
Horribly.
It's true. It's true.
And embarrassingly.
I think any writer should do that. It's therapeutic.
We obviously didn't get over that.
The childhood writing started, and then I just wrote off and on, and I had a manuscript called After Death. And my grandmother saw it, and she threw it away because she thought I was writing about suicide. Like I was going to kill myself. She threw it away. And never, I was like, what? That's crazy. I would never even think about that. And so she threw that away. That broke my heart. And then later on, of course, I just pick things up, and then I just study things, and I just it just comes to me to do that. And how I got into photography. If all this ties together, am I answering the question? I don't know if I'm.
Yeah,
You are.
it's great.
You're basically describing yourself as an autodidact.
Again, my buddy Mark Carbon, and he better be watching. Keep talking about.
He left a couple comments.
Yeah.
Is he in there?
Yeah. He said hi a couple times.
Okay, so he'll tell you, he was the photographer for me when I was doing fashion design and stuff like that, and he would photograph women in my dresses, and he did it brilliantly. He's a brilliant photographer. And one day he just stopped wanting to do it. It wasn't us, it was just something he was dealing with. So we said, okay, well, Paul said, I'm going to teach you how to do photography. I'm going to teach you myself. That's my boyfriend. And I said, okay, well, I didn't even know he was a photographer. I mean, I had been with him for a couple of years at that point, and I had no idea he even knew that. He never talked about it. So he taught me all the basics and everything. And next thing I started teaching myself flash, taught myself infrared, taught myself all the other stuff. But he started me with the basics. Then he taught me film photography and all that. And I got my first roll right. You know, usually your first roll is a mess, but my first roll was correct. So it just comes to me like that, you know. And autodidact, I guess they call it. So.
Autodidact. Yep. You are a true autodidact, Natasha.
Here it is. Speaking of infrared, my favorite picture in this book is your infrared photo of the front of St. Thomas Catholic Church.
Oh, yeah. Was it pink? It's got pink trees.
Yes. This one right here. I love this.
Oh, thank you.
This is beautiful. Check that out.
I know
the way she did that. It's unbelievable.
Thank
you.
Good. That was with I have a D750, a Nikon D750 that we converted to. That was converted to 590 nanometer infrared in order to do that. So, and then you still have to do some Photoshop. You still have to. Yeah,
because it's beautifully chromatic, and then you have the pink popping everywhere. That's really cool.
You know, this book is inspirational to me because I want to go to abandoned places like this, and I want to come out with story ideas like you come out with these photographs.
Yeah,
thank you.
You're able to capture like just the, I'm going to say the after essence of these places that draw all of the imagination as to what happened to get them here.
Yeah,
I want to come away with story ideas from places like that.
Yeah,
man, it's really cool work that you're doing.
Yeah.
I really, really like it.
You know what? Another thing too about 2015. I'll never forget how I wanted to go inside these buildings so badly. I was sitting in orientation for a job that I was just starting, and I was looking through their, I don't know if it couldn't have been their computer because I was just starting, maybe my phone, but I noticed abandoned Nashville. There was an abandoned Nashville movement too. And I was like, I want to be a part of y'all so bad. And I used to write to them and try to go with them. You know, I wanted to go with the group, but they extended a welcome on that. So
really,
see me now,
they're lost.
I don't know. Yeah, and I just all those years I wanted to do it, and then when I met Mark, like I said, he was already shooting in these places, models and stuff. And while he was shooting, sometimes I would just wander and shoot the building. You know, that's what I was mostly interested in. So yeah.
You know what the problem is probably that abandoned Nashville group is made up of transplants, not actually like locals who were raised here, born here.
Mm-hmm.
They probably migrated here like so many people have from other states.
And they're just using it for their own.
Yeah.
There's no like deep and
my best
appreciation for it. Well, that's one of the interesting things about what you do, you know, with the photography book is that you really are shining a spotlight on Memphis in an interesting way. I mean, every city's got it, but no one wants to talk about it, and it's got a story. Every place is going to have a story, you know. And how does it make you feel whenever you go to these places, Natasha?
It's like I want to know why it's abandoned in some of these places. Like, especially, I want to know more about how long that church was abandoned for. Why would you leave something like this and not make it into some sort of museum? That one church, the one with the infrared picture, it is in a rough place. Maybe that's why they won't convert it. Even the Aretha Franklin's old house,
Yeah.
That's in the book. And I couldn't get in. I just there's this board I could get a lens through. That was it. Because there's a rumor that her old bathtub is still in there. So how I feel about it is like I just want to know. I mean, I know why she left. I mean,
Sure.
But the other stuff is, I want to know why. I want to, every time I see a house or see a business that's shut down, I want to know the whys and whats. I want everything. Everything.
Yeah.
Well, but I mean, at the same time, because I do have a phobia, it's megalophobia. I do have that. I've had it since I was a kid.
We were going to ask about
that. Was my next question.
Oh, really?
Yep.
My grandma used to take me shopping downtown Little Rock, and it was a great shopping area back then. And they changed it. But at the time, everything was shutting down. And I was 4 years old. I'll never forget. She had me by the arm, and I would stop, and I would peek in, pull my arm back, and peek in like that in the glass. And of course, you see this big, vast blackness and nothing but the lights that are off. And I just pull back like that, and I got scared. It's like a thrill in a way. You're scared and you're thrilled at the same time. That's how. It's like a roller coaster to some people.
Yeah. It's like a little adrenaline junkie kind of thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
there is that.
I won't go into a theater if it's no one in there but me. Like my daughter, she could tell you. Because before COVID, she and I went into a theater, and there was nobody there but me and her. Like we had bought our ticket and everything, went up there, and there's nobody. Yeah. And I said, well, I'll go up there if you do, like this. And she backed off. Like, you ever see that meme of Homer Simpson?
Just receding into the shrubs.
That's what she did. I said, don't do that. I said, okay. And we left. We just sat up and we laughed about it for hours after. Because we said, we can't do this. Neither one of us, I can't go. So long story short, I can't. Even if there's one other person, what if they go for popcorn? I'm sitting in this thing by myself. I'm not doing that.
We're both going for popcorn.
Yeah, we're all going for popcorn.
We're all going for popcorn. And we're holding hands while we do it.
So I can't do it. But when I do explore, like I say, I have one person with me, at least one person.
Good.
How I feel when I go into a place that's big like that, it feels like it's crushing me. Like it's pushing down on me like pressure. Yeah. And it's hard to explain. It's like it's going to collapse. And even when I shot real estate, because I did that for a while, if a house was over, if it was close to 20,000, not 20,000, but 2,000 square feet, I would have to have someone go with me.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's something you've carried. That started when you were a girl.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You've carried that all your life.
Yep.
Does that influence do you feel like that influences your writing, or has that influenced your career as an author in any way?
No. Okay. I don't even get factors in unless I'm describing a character who may have the same affliction. Okay. But most people have claustrophobia. I don't have being in a closet. When I was a kid, for some reason, a daycare teacher, I was 4 years old. I can remember everything from 3 up. So I'm weird like that too.
Yeah.
But she put me in a closet for some reason. And I don't remember why. I was just put in a closet. And I just started playing in there.
Yeah.
No fear.
I'm actually with Natasha on this. Like, closed and confined spaces.
Mm-hmm.
They feel so like cocooning, you know? Mm-hmm. Like you get into like if you're on like a cruise ship, or if you're like in a camper or something, you find like some little nook and cranny to like snuggle up into.
Yeah, sure.
It's like the greatest feeling in the world. I don't know why. It's
my greatest fear is being buried alive.
Oh, okay.
That's not being able to. It's when it's pressing in on your face and you can't.
I gotta show him that Ryan Reynolds movie about where he's like buried alive trying to get out.
You lost me at Ryan Reynolds, man. That's my second greatest fear.
Deadpool.
Yeah, right. Deadpool.
It doesn't bother me going inside of MRI machines, anything like that. That doesn't bother me at all. None of that. I used to work for St. Vincent in the MRI department.
Oh, cool.
And people would be scared. I didn't understand that. Like we had to sedate them and stuff.
Yeah.
And I wasn't scared at all. But if you put me in a big old building, a big old abandoned by myself, just standing there, it's like that. It's that same irrational fear of That's called.
See, I don't like. I'm kind of along those same
That's
lines
interesting.
where I don't like big, wide open, dark spaces
Mhm.
because at any minute a T-Rex could come thundering out of the shadows and bite me.
Yeah,
you know?
it's true.
The zombies
Big
could come
spaces
flooding
hide
out
big
of
creatures.
them. Exactly.
Yeah.
Or just things
Well,
that I can't shoot in time.
Well,
you
let me
know?
ask you both this: do you have any? Do either of you have fear of the ocean?
In the ocean, no way.
No.
Not going
On
in the
the ocean, cool. In the ocean, look, there's that like bird's eye view shot from Pinocchio where like the whale is coming up underneath,
Yeah.
you know, and like I used to make fun of our little brother because he cried and we had to leave the movie when that happened. But now, like 20 years, 30 years later, I look at that and I'm like, you know what? He was right. Yeah, that's terrifying. Yeah.
What about you, Natasha? Do you have any fear of the ocean at all?
No, I can't even swim, but I'll get in there. I mean, I've gotten into pool water that's deep. You know, as long as I got my floaties and all that, I should be afraid, but I'm not.
Nick and I are afraid of sharks inside of pools.
I think it's called thalassophobia. Yeah, thalassophobia. I think is the fear of the deep or something like fear of the sea, or and I have that in a swimming pool at night.
Mm-hmm.
I can't swim in a dark swimming pool at night.
You just know there's going to be a shark.
Yeah, there's something in there, dude.
From the bottom.
Yeah,
and just,
They don't come out in the day. They're not stupid. They know when to come out and nibble on your toes.
They're gonna pass right by the pool.
They come in through the drain. They're long. They got big. I'm not gonna do it. I'm not
like
gonna
the
swim in a pool
screaming
tonight.
eels from Princess Bride.
Yeah.
You know.
That's I haven't,
Anyways, sorry.
but I should be afraid of it, I guess. But I'm not. I'm gonna move this light a little bit.
Yeah. Hey. Good for you. Yeah. Less things to be afraid of, the better.
Let me see. Let me ask you this question, because I kind of want to pivot back towards typewriters.
Yeah.
Do you feel like there's a connection at all between your love of abandoned places, and your love of old typewriters?
I answered that. Hold on 1 second. I'm sorry.
No problem.
I'm coming off unprofessional. I just want to make sure that I got that.
You're fine.
right.
Don't worry about it.
Come on, you've been talking to us for like almost an hour now. I don't think you have to worry about that.
Okay, and I'll stay on as long as you want. I don't care about that. It says no. The answer was no. I said I decided to try typewriters in 2013. Okay, there's a story with that. So I decided to try. So no, it doesn't really mix in with the two. But I started in 2013 because I was writing the 15-year itch, and it's the second book to it. It's Scratch, the sequel. And I was writing these books, and I was like, what would it be like to do this on a typewriter? You know, I think that would be cool. So I ordered on eBay a Royal typewriter, a black Royal typewriter for $85. I'll never forget. Okay. This thing, it came in, it did not work. The carriage, and they said everything worked. Again, that old eBay lie, you know, it works. And it doesn't, and so
fully functional, sold as is.
Yeah. And, I tried reaching out to them. I said, "This don't work." They never answered me. So there was in Little Rock, Arkansas. Again, no typewriter people around me. The closest I could find was New York at the time. I didn't know anything about anybody. This was 2013. I didn't know anything about anybody doing this.
Yeah.
When you do a Google search back then, Nashville didn't come up. Alabama didn't come up. It's New York and California and all these places. And so I'm like, what am I going to do? So I ended up I called a place in Pine Bluff, Arkansas. That was a office supply company or something. And I took the typewriter to them, and they said they'll see what they can do. They looked at it. They called me and said, "There's nothing we can do with it. We don't, work on them like that." So I said, "Okay, I'll be back to get it." I never got it. I never returned. It was $85 in the toilets.
Man, I'm sorry.
Mom, I'm like, I need my money, but I said, you know what, I'm gonna let go. And then I went inside of this furniture store and saw an Underwood. And that was 14, because there's a picture of my daughter on the Instagram now where she's messing with it when I was trying to work on it. Because again, it didn't work either. So I got disillusioned. I said, forget it. I'm not going to do any more typewriters. Everybody's screwing everybody with them. And
none of them work.
Look, I couldn't. None of, and plus, I didn't know how to work on them at the time. And I didn't have times I was working 2 jobs. I don't have time for this.
Wow.
So I stopped. 2 jobs plus I'm writing books and doing everything else. And Paul called me when he first met me is a workaholic, because I had a studio outside my apartment when he met me. So I would go there in the middle of the night and work. And so that explains why, I can work 2 jobs and write and do this and do,
Yep.
because I'm always doing I have to do something. So, but again, about the typewriters, I got back into it in February of this year. After a series of events, again, I wanted to, what's it like to write with this? Because I've started back writing seriously, and then deaths in the family. It was like, when working on a typewriter, I felt like it was just therapy. It got me through, like working.
Cool.
That was it. When I was done, while I'm working on it, like, it's like I was going through something, a depression or something, and then I'm working on it. I don't even think about it. Everything's gone. It's almost like this little saying that Roger Moore. It was funny. I recently found it. He said, how I'll read it to you. Hold on. Let me find it. Okay. He says, you just strum chords whenever you're feeling, hold on. You just strum chords whenever you're feeling wound up. You'd be surprised. It just takes your mind off everything.
Yeah.
So that's typewriters for me. I sit there and I forget I'm depressed. I forget what happened. I forget, things temporarily. And then I'm done with the typewriter, sit it up back, I tag them and stuff. Okay, what's next? Typewriter. And I think that's how I ended up with my 40-something odd group here.
You have 40 typewriters?
Well, I have over 40. As a matter of fact,
dude,
this is how I keep up with it, right? It's by Mr. Leo. I hope he's watching too. Leo, who is Simple Man 45 on Instagram.
Oh yeah, Simple Man 45. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Yeah, he's great.
He started following us a while ago.
I've been following him for like 2 years.
Yeah,
he's awesome.
He's really cool.
He was one of the first people I followed after watching California Typewriter. I was like, I got to start following people who are into typewriters. I can't. This is going to be my new thing.
Yeah.
Dude, that's awesome.
I keep up with them all. I have right here. It says 45 typewriters.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's
now 2 or 3 of them had to go back to the workbench. But those are 45 or 40, at least 43 actual working typewriters. Yeah.
Wow,
that's so great.
And
so impressive.
If you want to see it real quick, this is my latest typewriter. My latest.
Yeah, please.
Is that Quiet Deluxe?
Yeah, it is. It's the one.
Looks like my baby. I saw this on your Instagram page.
Is that a 55?
It's a 52.
52. Wow.
52. Nice.
It says AG for the serial number, AG, which was odd. I couldn't really put the two together, but it was in the 52 range on the typewriter database. And it's got the original book in it, and it's ironic. It says, you own the world's #1 portal. And on the inside, it said, your new typewriter and all this. And I'm like, wow, I feel like I really bought this in 1952.
That's awesome.
So it's cool. I just love it. And it typed well at the beginning, so no problem.
Does it? Okay, yeah.
So when you wrote your books, and you actually wrote on a typewriter, which is awesome.
Those books I didn't, but I was saying, what would it be like to do that? These two here, no.
Okay.
And that one, no, I didn't. But I am writing books now. Yeah, write stories now. And my one type page, I submit stuff by typewriter every day. So I have 2 current stories running, that I'm typing. Yes.
Okay. Now, do you have a website where you upload pictures or works that you've done on a typewriter?
No, just the one type page. I use that. As that, and that's it. Because I need to cut down some of my social media a bit in order to have time for that. I don't have a website yet. I was supposed to be doing that, and I fell down on the job doing that. But
I'm the same way. I'm the exact same boat. I need to do that. I just can't get around to doing it
because I've done it before, and I just stopped it. I don't know. I just didn't, because I'm getting discovered more so through social media. Social media, Instagram and Facebook is how they found me for the Abandoned series. The Abandoned North and South Memphis is part of a series of books that the website America Through Time does, and Font Hill Media. Font Hill Media is from the UK, and they emailed me saying, well, they messaged me first, and because I didn't respond, they started messaging my other accounts. saying, hey, we love your pictures. We'd like to publish a book with you in it, you know, with your work in it and all this. They didn't know I could write. They had no idea that I could write at all. You know, they just saw my pictures. So I'm like, a website at this point, I mean, I know I need one, but I'm having quite a bit of fortune with using social media.
Like, gosh, one more thing to keep up with. There isn't exactly engagement on a website. I mean, you just maybe have people sign up to an email list, but then again, you have to manage an email list.
Right.
And that's a lot. And the creative doesn't want to be a marketer. I mean, we're trying to do the work of, books. We're trying to create art,
Yeah, it's that passion versus paycheck thing that gets so tough. It's very cool. You really are in a lot of ways what Jordan Peterson describes Natasha as, like someone who's hyper industrious. You know, he talks about how like there are certain people where like if you just hand them a hatchet and send them into the woods, they'll just start chopping down trees, you know, and start like building boats and just. I had a friend who's a chiropractor who was like that. Like he could not sit still. He always had to be doing.
My wife's like that. My wife's like
that. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, exactly. And there's just I'm not that guy. Like I'm totally like, oh, I got a day off. Like I'm not getting out of bed. Like I might write a chapter.
I'm going to make it productive. So I'm going to read all day.
Cool,
That's a productive day for me.
I feel guilty if I sleep in bed all day. I actually feel guilty. Like it's weird. Now, I have to make myself and convince myself today's okay for you to rest. It's okay for you not to get up and do anything. It's okay.
And our narrator.
I feel bad, like I missed something.
Oh yeah, that is true, and that's healthy to a certain extent to feel that way. Like, you only have so much time. On the earth, and you only have so much time in the day, and there's only so many hours in the day, and you have to figure out how to budget that.
You only have all those things going on, and you're a parent too, so you can't just stay in bed all day.
Our narrator, our Adam Burrell, he's in the UK, he's in England, and he and his wife are both like that. Like they both have full-time jobs, they both have a couple kids, and he does all the audio narration for our books, and then she does like all these resin projects, and I'm on him all the time. I'm like, Adam, sleep, go to sleep, buddy. Like he's watching this right now. And it's like 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock over there. He'll get up at like 4 a.m, and something. It's like, Adam, I need you alive, buddy. Like, and Natasha, same thing. Like, go to bed. It's okay.
I don't go to bed until Paul comes in. Like I work till midnight. And okay, Tasha, it's time for bed. I'm like, I'm grown.
There's still too much to do,
Yeah, I know. I have to, because he can't stand the sound of typewriters. He calls them even though he's warmed up to them.
Yeah.
But he calls them the loudest laptops in the world.
It's true.
I can't argue with him on that at all, actually.
Yeah.
They are when I use them.
I even try using the quiet ones. They say they're quiet, but they're not quiet. This one actually kind of it's kind of muffled. This one.
I had a Corona Silent Super.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when they say Quiet Deluxe or Silent Super or Silent, I think they're talking about the bell. They're talking. I think they're talking about how loud the bell is, because you couldn't even hear that bell. It was almost non-existent. It was like a whiff of sound.
Yeah.
You couldn't hear it over the typing at all. It was super silent.
Yeah.
Yeah, that must be it. Because I don't, otherwise you still hear the little tapping, and he can't stand that. Because I can't type at 2 a.m. If I do, I have to go out there somewhere, and I'm not gonna do that.
I know. I have that same problem because I use a Royal Quiet Deluxe, and it's the only functioning typewriter I have, and it was like my grandmother's when she was in high school, and I've had it for like 15 years, and now I live in a house with my younger brother who could not care less about any of it. And so and our bedrooms are right next to each other, so I either have to like wait for a time when I know he's not trying to sleep, or I have to like take it downstairs, No,
man, you should push the desk up against that wall.
Oh, it is up against that wall.
And then
and then wait until like 5 a.m, like the last hour he has to sleep, and then just start banging away.
And don't do it rhythmically.
No, of course not. No.
Just short bursts. Wait.
See, that's me. Short bursts, and then I think or try to put myself into the character, because that's important too. It's like I have a what do you call it? They say it's a natural talent you have to have. It was a
Like a synesthesia?
Yeah, you have to. What's his name? Glenn Gers, the guy who wrote the screenplay for Fracture. He has a screenplay channel where he teaches you about that on YouTube.
Oh,
interesting.
interesting.
It's,
Okay,
like,
cool.
it's like method acting. It's method writing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I sit and I have to put myself in the mind of what would you say? What would you do?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then type, but so it's in burst. Yeah, like that. That's why.
Yeah. Well, that's good characterization. How long have you you've been writing for a long time, and then you wrote a trilogy of novels, is that right? Are they connected?
Yes. First was the 15-Year Itch,
Mhm.
and then Scratched, the sequel, where the kids are grown and they're getting into all type of hijinks and all that themselves. And then because when Ava left her husband, eventually she had to because she got pregnant by Simon. And then so her and Simon made a family of their own. So there's hijinks and stuff going on with that. And then right now I'm still writing Scarred, which is book 3, which tells the backstory of the characters.
Oh, cool.
So there's that book isn't out. Of course, I'm still working on that one. I'm quite a few pages into it. I'm quite a few words into it though. So I need to be rounding out, finishing that.
I got a question for you. These are books you're writing under the pen name Simone Moore.
Yeah.
Well, these 3, the trilogy is under Natasha Rawls, but my recent work is my recent works are under Simone Moore. Yes.
How did you choose that pen name?
That is a combination of Simon Templar and Roger Moore.
Oh, that's awesome.
I knew it. That at least the Moore came from Roger Moore. I was like, it's gotta be. It's a male muse.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I love it.
So yeah, that's where I got it from. And so, because my characters are so much the opposite of what you would think I would write. I mean, I guess I can put it that way. I mean, if you see that they're largely from the late 40s, 50s, 60s. Yeah, so it's very opposite of me in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
But that's the characterizations I'm, familiar with and that I'm inspired by. I watched a lot of that growing up. So
that's the era of cinema that you really seem to gravitate towards.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. How long did it take you to write those 2 novels?
Months. Because I'll tell you what propelled me to finish the 15-Year Itch, because I had started while I was working for Arkansas. Well, it was a hospice place I was working for, and it was a stressful job. I was miserable, and one day I called in one day too many, sick, and they fired me.
Yeah.
Well, when I got fired, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna finish this novel.
Yeah.
Good for you.
And so I just started finishing the novel, and I finished it like within a month after that, because at first it was writing here, writing there, would have taken forever. Then I just started doing that, and I made a little money here and there. My dad sold my books and everything, so I was kind of able to float, from there,
Cool.
So that was something I stepped out and I did it, and I don't regret it. And a couple of months later came Scratch, the sequel.
Yeah.
And years down the line, I still haven't finished number 3.
It happens.
That's all right.
That was just life taking over and all that. What's funny is I want to encourage people who say they don't have time to write, or they want to start writing, but they're afraid that they don't have the time. I worked 2 jobs, as I said. I was single parent for a while. And I would take breaks. Like in my first job at lunch, I would go and I'd write on my laptop, on my Mac. During lunch, I'd eat first, then I'd start typing little sentences, even if it's 2 or 3 sentences. I got those sentences in, okay?
Good for you.
And then I had a second job working at night, and those were the greatest people. They supported me so much. So I'm sorry, but I wrote at night. What I would do is I would clean offices at night for a second job.
Oh, okay.
When I would hurry up and get the work done. I would do my job well, from what they say. But I would clean the offices, go through, so I could hurry up and get to my desk. I would close the door into somebody's office and start typing up my story. But I was one of the first ones to get finished because I was so excited, and they witnessed me finish my novel. They actually did. The people who worked with me, and get it published. And they was like, oh man, I want a copy. And a couple of people there said, hey, you saved my marriage. You know what I'm saying, with this, because of the love scenes. You know, they were like,
Oh, that's awesome.
Hey,
You know what?
I love that.
That's awesome.
That's fantastic.
So they were
Who'd have
so
thought?
cool. Yeah. So yeah, that was great. I mean, I just want to let you know you can steal some time, and you can finish. You can, I just have a passion for it too, just like sewing. I was doing that too. Like I said, I'd be up at 2 a.m. doing that.
Yeah.
Because I had to finish something for a fashion show or whatever. So.
Yeah, you can find time.
You really can.
Things, it's
there.
I think it's a line from Star Trek. You make time for what you love.
Yeah,
it's
true.
So pretty sure that's Wrath of Khan.
I have another typewriter question for you.
Yeah.
And it's not my question. It's actually my friend Michael's question.
Oh, yeah.
Who knew we were going to be interviewing you, and he wanted me to ask you this.
Yeah, he was excited about this interview.
He said, Michael said, what model of typewriter would you suggest for a new author that was wanting to maybe invoke some nostalgia while writing?
No, yeah.
New author, first typewriter.
My first, I'll say my first one, but I don't know if I suggest it, because all you're gonna do is get bored with it quickly, and you're gonna. When my first typewriter was a 1966 Sears Tudor, little plastic thing, and it's sitting right there on the floor. I got so bored with that so quick. That's when I jumped into Royals and Underwoods, the big ones, the Royal 10s and all that.
Yeah, I got an Underwood right there behind Jonathan.
Yeah.
That's a 48 Underwood desktop. Love it.
Love them, yeah. So I jumped into that. But for a new person getting in and wanting to be inspired, the same thing that Joe Van Cleve said in his interview about something to this effect, you don't want something that you have to work on right then, because you're going to get frustrated. You might want to buy something like in the 1920s machines are more complicated. I got some that were working, but they're bigger to deal with. So I just say you probably need to start with something like this, a Royal Quiet Deluxe, or maybe a Remington Quiet Writer. I have 3 of those. Remington Quiet Writer, or Rod Serling's machine, which was a Royal KMG.
Oh, really?
Great for writing. I mean, that has inspired people. Those KMGs and KMMs, really great for that, for writing stories and stuff. They are simple.
Man, those old Twilight Zone episodes.
Leo says that's an understatement when I say that it's a workhorse typewriter, the KMG, but it's the one. If you looking for that, that's the one to start off with. But I mean, either one of those, something from the 50s, maybe 60s range, but the 60s, it's so plasticky, it's hard to get a little plastic at that time. You might want to stick with the late 40s, but really to 50s. But
50s is like the sweet spot between something that's not overly complicated, something that you can find a lot of parts for, something that like there's probably going to be a YouTube video about, but still like not be made out of a bunch of plastic that's just going to break and fall apart.
In the shops, like working on them too, Nashville Typewriter, because I reached out to him about my 20s machines, and he was, he's more into the mid-century ones himself, from what he told. So anybody just starting, in case your machine breaks down or something like that, it's best to have a 50s model around.
So you said Rod Serling, creator of the Twilight Zone?
Yes.
Royal Dude, do you like the Twilight Zone? Do you watch
That's what I watched growing up. I love.
Isn't it awesome? And it's even better, like it's just as prescient today as it was. I used to every Saturday back when I was working security, I would have Twilight Zone Saturday where I just like make fish sticks and chicken fingers, and I just like sit in my room and just watch old Twilight Zone episodes all day. It's so much fun. It's so cool. Like that's one of those shows that'll never get old.
Yeah.
But I got to look into one of those now. The Royal KMG.
Yeah, I'm gonna check one of those. That might be my next one. Is that or an Olivetti? I don't know.
If it's good enough for Rod, it's good enough for me. Man, he was awesome.
Yeah, Rod. I got a picture of him with one on my site, on my Instagram. He's sitting there, just like mine. Yeah, and he's got cigarette. and everything. And I'm like, man, I know my machine was covered with cigarettes. I know it was.
I hear
Yeah.
that's a common thing with typewriter repair
Uh-huh.
guys.
Yeah.
The machines come in, they have to clean them
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
repair them,
They
and they're
reek
all
of Lucky Strikes.
they do. Yeah, they've
Yeah.
got grime, like nicotine grime and
Yeah,
cigarette
the
smoke all
yellowing
over
of
them. And I'm
smoke,
like,
yeah.
do you really want to clean that off? It's kind of like
That's the
the essence of the typewriter, you know?
Yeah, that's the juice, baby.
Yeah,
That's
it's the juice. Well, I'll tell you, if the Royal Quiet Deluxe was good enough for Hemingway,
right.
Mhm,
Yeah,
right.
you know,
enough
that's
for me.
yeah, man. That's really cool. So, what typewriter do you feel like, Natasha, has the best feel when you're typing on it? It's just smooth and
Oh,
easy
yeah.
to work with. Like, what gives you the most typing, like tactile typing pleasure?
My
when you're
most
using
recent one like that is my Remington 12 from 1926.
it?
Real
Oh, okay.
easy. And it has the, if I'm right hand return.
A right hand return.
Right.
Really?
It's my right hand. Yeah, because it's over here. I'm just switched right now because I'm looking. But if you're facing it, it's not over here. Okay, it's over here. The handle's over here. That's what
So
I'm.
you pull it.
Yeah.
So you pull it with the right hand.
Yes, and pull it and push like that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
That
Wow.
one is so tactile and nice, and that's what I've been doing a lot of my writings with lately. My other typewriters are jealous now. They're like, oh, latecomer comes here and gets all the work. Because at first I was using my 1923 Royal, and it works. And it's from Canada. It's a Canadian model. It wasn't made in Canada, but it was ended up in Canada. Somehow, had its little symbols. The little pound symbol is one of the keys,
Cool.
and it works great now. I mean, I can just start typing on it like liquid. It's easy to type with.
Yeah.
And as far as portable, and I'll tell you one that's amazingly easy to work on and use was the Oliver.
Really?
The 1915 Oliver. That was amazingly easy. I was like, why come they didn't
Really?
keep making these typewriters like this? Because the Oliver, you just took the carriage off like that. I mean, just
1915 Oliver. Cool.
and replacing the carriage string or whatever, the strap was remarkably simple.
Yeah.
Remarkable, without cutting a finger off and all that. Usually
Right.
messing with these things, the carriage strap. So, I'm sorry, I went off the tangent.
Yeah, that's great.
That 1926 Remington is just amazing to work on. Amazing. I mean, that's just one. And the 1923 Royal 10.
The Royal 10.
Is that
Okay.
was that a portable?
Royal 10? No.
Yeah, or was it just the standard?
The big old. They call me the queen of standards.
You like the standard typewriters?
I was reminded of that this morning at the. Do y'all ever go to the Typewriter Club Live, TCL?
No, never been there.
Short.
No.
Because I was there this morning, and somebody asked. They said, that's this typewriter." Okay, I was showing it. They said, "It's a portable typewriter, right?" I said, "Yeah." Why you say that? Why you? And he said, "Well, you got all these standard typewriters. You're into standards." And I said, "Well, I got like a whole gaggle of portables, but they don't ever see that. They never see it." So.
Well, I mean, you do have like 40 something typewriters, so
Yeah.
Yeah. That's messy.
Which is honestly, I think you might have more typewriters. I'm not entirely sure, but I think you might have more typewriters than Richard Polt.
Really?
Hmm?
Oh,
It's possible.
Well, I think he's given away a lot. I think he said
probably
his
has.
wife wants him to get rid of a lot of them.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, yeah, that's fair. But whatever. I mean, a win's a win.
Yeah.
Actually, I think Natasha, you and I may be connected because we had interviewed Richard Polt.
Yeah, I saw it. I watched it.
Yeah, I think that's I think that's maybe where we initially connected was over that Richard Polt. Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
That was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I love watching his interview, and he's inspiring too. And he's got where you can what's the word? Not audition, but I need to turn in a story to him for.
Oh yeah, submissions.
Really?
Yeah,
You can submit.
yeah.
So yeah. I'm sorry, I just had to go get my.
Look
Remington.
at that. That's the Remington 12.
Beautiful.
Yes. Oh my God! It won't go on the turntable, guys.
That's okay. Look how shiny it is. I mean, it looks like you really keep it in good condition.
Yeah.
Oh yes, I do. I love her. Oh my goodness!
So it's got the round key. They're like glass keys, round keys.
They
so
are
it's
glass.
so it's probably got to be pre-40s. What year is it?
26.
26.
That is shiny.
Wow.
That is like obsidian, man. That is beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah, I cleaned her up. She has vertical ribbon mechanism. You open the door on the side.
Yeah.
You can see this. Okay. You open the door and there's the ribbon. It's vertical.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Man,
And everything works on it. Like it's like brand new out the
What
factory.
did you get that on eBay or did you find that somewhere else? Where'd you get it?
You'd be amazed. I just complained about Paul not liking typewriters, but he bought it.
He's a good dude.
Yeah, he sounds
He's a good dude.
Yeah. Shut up, Paul.
Until the sun went down, and then he turned around and bound. You know, who was that said he is able to?
You know that's love, Natasha.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Eric, in New Hampshire, he said in one of his letters, because I do have pen pals and stuff. I love that.
Yeah.
And he said, "Well, it's crazy how he complains and enables you."
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, yeah. That if that's not love, Natasha, I don't know what is. You know. I'm gonna help you, but I'm gonna complain about it the whole time.
I'm gonna say no more typewriters, but then here's a note.
Happy birthday.
Do you have
my birthday the Remington 5, but it was the wrong Remington. So he had to go and buy me another one, which was the Remington.
That's beautiful, but it's the wrong one.
Yeah. That again? Yeah.
It's the wrong one. He got you the wrong one. So, it's beautiful. It's what a wonderful. That's so thoughtful, but it's actually the wrong one. So we need to get another
missed
one.
It by that much.
We'll just add it to the collection. It's fine. I did want one of these.
Yeah, I wanted one of these anyways. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Do you, Natasha? You mentioned having pen pals. Do you write them letters back and forth with typewriters? Is that
yes? Yep.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
That's a great idea. I mean, there's nothing like. Do you find? Because Nick and I talk about this all the time. Do you find that your writing style changes when you use a typewriter?
I feel like the typewriters, each one inspires me differently. I guess
that's cool.
Yeah, you know, when I type on this one, I feel like I'm back then. Not necessarily 1920s, but it takes me to this time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The story I'm writing right now, they're in 1963, and so it almost. And when I'm on the KMG, same thing. I'm writing a different story on that, which is Kensington Island, and that's the one I'm gonna start a screenplay again, because I started screenplays and I didn't finish them back in the day. They were on computer.
Yeah,
but I would like to start another one on there of Kensington Island, the story that I'm writing for one type page. But I've stopped because I was like, I want to do something else with that story. But I don't know. The point of it was each typewriter inspires me in a different way, really. Yeah. I feel like I can tune in better to those subjects.
Yeah. Now, is that something you're writing for Nanowrimo? Are you doing anything specific for Nanowrimo, or is that just?
I'm writing the story, The Courtship of Adrian and Lucinda, which I'm also doing a little series called the Marriage Counseling series, where the couple is getting marriage counseling. But the book that I'm writing about for Nanowrimo, that's a novel that I started. I'm 12,000 words into it before Nanowrimo, you know. But I need to finish it. It's about the start of their love affair and their dating and all that, because what makes it so strange is he's an orphan, but he pulled himself out of that along with his friend to become a successful actor and model and stuff like that. And while he was an orphan, he heard Lucinda's voice on the Victrola in one of those foster homes he was staying in. And Lucinda is the wife in the story down the line. But so he fell in love with her as a child, basically. And he grew up, and he said, you know what, I'm going to go see her, because he used to see her at concerts and stuff, but he never met her in person. He said, you know what, I'm going to meet her. I'm going to meet her. You know, and he falsifies a ticket for a backstage pass to go see her, you know, in person and all that. He scribbles it up, and the guy says, this isn't the real ticket. And they was like, you know, she said, well, I'll let one more person see me. I'll let one more person come in. And that was him. And she met him, and she was actually with someone else. He's 11 years younger than she is. But they end up having a love affair. So, yeah.
You're giving me ideas for Rona Mitra and Ariana Grande. I just want to write this down.
There you go.
Let's see.
There is hope. There is hope.
Yeah,
They get married in 1946. But by 1963, you know, because of the age difference, and then he's got issues, they're having problems. So they're trying experimental, at the time, marriage counseling in 1963.
Okay. Interesting.
Very cool.
Very, very cool. Well,
And that's inspired by a real life couple. I'll tell you, that's fun.
Really?
I'm reading this on Instagram. Yeah. The real life couple is, again, Roger Moore, and he was married to a woman named who was that woman he was married to in the 50s? It was Dorothy Squires. She was a famous Welsh singer at the time. She was world famous, and he was nothing at the time. So she was 13 years older than he was.
Really?
And they were together for a time, and it was rough. I was like, and I said, well, what if they actually got marriage counseling? That would be interesting. You know?
Yeah.
She used to beat him. He actually was beaten by a couple of his wives, you know.
Wow.
So in real life. So he's got an interesting backstory, you know, if you get beyond all the fluff and all he can't act and all, you know, all the stuff they say about him.
I bet he loved playing James Bond. I bet he loved playing James Bond.
Yeah, he can act up. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And then there's a picture from the Saint TV show. The episode is called "The Arrow of God," and there's an older woman in the episode who inspired Lucinda, because he's standing next to her in the picture, and he's like, and that's my Adrian is. Oh, I guess I gave it away. Roger's my Adrian. So. He's standing next to the woman who's older. She's plus size because Lucinda is not skinny. She's, you know, voluptuous like Mae West. She has that type.
Oh yeah.
So she, you know, I said, what if they were the ones that were married? What if they, you know, that's how the storyline just kicked in.
That's cool. Yeah, like that's a creative process.
Right, and this picture.
Mm-hmm.
Make it more different. So I'm sorry, that's my whole.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Yeah. As a writer, do you find yourself just being overwhelmed with ideas, or are you able to stay on the straight and narrow with one book idea at a time and just plow your way through it?
Oh, that's so hard because I have multiple ideas. Not when I was a member of a writers group, like dedicated member. She told me, she said, because I was submitting books, you know, stuff that I started from back in 2013, you know, and she was like, man, some of your best stuff you left behind.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
So, I was like, yeah, I mean, and next thing you know, I get an idea and I scribble notes. That's how I do. I scribble the notes by hand so I don't lose them. If I have a dream, like sometimes I wake up in the morning and I kind of daydream with my eyes closed.
Yes.
The whole storyline.
I do that too. Yep.
Yeah.
Do you do that too?
I was by myself. I was like, does anybody else do this? Because that's another thing they tell you to do is try to find time to formulate your story. Try to find time to get into the character. See,
and
you know, what they would say, what they would do, and all that. So that's my time to do that. And so I have to, if I get to something, I have to hurry up and scribble it down, or I hurry up and put it on this phone in the notes, or my iPad. And people saw me with my iPad one day out typing. I was typing, and I got the iPad over here. What you doing with that? You know, what you doing with this iPad and these iWatches and all this? I'm like, look,
I'm writing books. Back off.
Yeah, no, and you know, because they're there, the notes and stuff like that are that I'm doing is for this.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, it may seem backwards to some people, but you know, really, it should be.
I used to carry around these Moleskine reporters notepads.
I don't think I've ever seen you without one.
All the time. I carried like in 2005, the family went to Prague in Czech Republic, and I took notepads with me, and God bless them, like they were all frustrated with me because, you know, you'd be standing outside the astronomical clock or astrological clock or whatever it is, you know, and like St. Vitus Cathedral, and they're wanting to go get dinner, and I'm sitting there scribbling, you know, or like a tape recorder. Oh yeah, like a little mini cassette handheld tape recorder, you know. I mean, just
Yes.
anything you can get to get the idea down, it's totally worth it to have.
Yeah, you better
You're
do
not
it because
alone.
it's a couple of times I've regretted it. And I was like, oh, I'll remember that.
No, but you won't.
Famous last words.
It is. It's like trying to grab.
Forget it as soon as you say that.
It's like trying to put smoke in your pocket. Like you can't do it. You know what I mean?
Beautiful. That's a
Like,
great analogy.
It just because, and
That's
it's the same
yeah,
thing.
I never heard that one. That's good.
It really is. It's this ephemeral thing that if you don't put it down on paper, it's gone. And it's the same thing whenever you're lying in bed. I do the same thing where as I'm drifting off to sleep, I'll be thinking about something, or when you wake up, you start thinking about something, and you just relax and let the ideas come to you, and then be sure to get them down on paper somehow, whether it's the voice memo function on your phone or the auto dictation software, or I mean, I've sat there with a laptop, just furiously typing away at like 6 o'clock in the morning,
Sitting in bed.
Yeah, just trying to get
Wow.
this weird dream down that I had, before it's because it's also slippery.
Yeah,
It just slips away.
and the
from
longer you wait, the cloudier it
you.
gets.
It does. You lose
Yeah.
things,
Yeah.
So
You have to think of it all over again. And
you're a true writer,
you get
Natasha.
A little bit. You only get a little bit of what you thought of when you.
Yeah, what you had,
You're like, dang, it's all watered down now.
Yeah, it's like being handed $1 million, and then by the time you actually get around to it, you have like a couple grand left. It's just that's how it feels if you don't get it down quickly, because what you're left with is just so tiny. It's morsels compared to it. So yeah, you're not alone. You're not alone at all on that. We're totally with you.
I have a question for you. You have I remember seeing an Instagram post where your daughter is playing on one of your typewriters.
Oh, cute.
Yes, that was
And,
2014.
and she's, I think in your book, I think you
What's
said,
the new one? I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. She was doing it later. But anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry. Finish it.
so she's roughly, my daughter's 9, and I think she's roughly the same age. Your daughter's
mine's
roughly.
11. Yeah, she's 11
She's
now.
11 now.
At
Okay,
the time
she's
the
11.
book was published, she was 9. Well, it was started, but it took, how traditional publishing can go 2 years before you even see it. Yeah.
And that's average from what I understand. Yeah.
So does your it's just kind of a twofold question. Does your daughter like typewriters?
I asked her that question, and she gave me these exact words today because I was like, well, what always says this? She said, "You're obsessed with typewriters, but I think they're cool. They're cool. Yeah, you're obsessed with, but they're cool.
You're like up here, Mom, and I'm like down here.
That's
you're
really
like
cool.
level 20, and I'm like level 5. So
So if
she does binary codes on them, and she also does
that's cool.
her notes. She'll type her notes on the tutor, that Sears tutor I told you about. That's the only typewriter I probably let her play with. Yeah,
That's awesome. So let's say one of her friends came over, and new friend, and she walks into the room where all your typewriters, you have 40 typewriters there, and she's like, "Why do you have all these typewriters?" What would you tell her friend that makes typewriter? Like you could tell her friend one thing about the typewriter and why it's cool and special, and why she should think about being interested in one. What would you tell her?
That's so easy, because if it wasn't for the typewriter, you wouldn't have your QWERTY keyboard for your cell phone and your little iPads and your little, you wouldn't have all that.
Mr. Newton
You
Scholes.
wouldn't have any of that. The typewriter started that. And please think about things that have lasted as long as a typewriter does. I mean, a typewriter will outlive. I mean,
every laptop.
Morbid, but you have to stop. Yeah, it will. Yeah, it'll outlive my cameras, everything. Not my film cameras. I don't know about that. But
well, this one right here, this little Corona 3, it's over 100 years old. I found it in an antique store about 4 months ago.
Yeah,
and it worked when I found it. It still works.
Oh.
I had to reattach the carriage string. That's it. That's it.
Yeah,
and it still functions.
I got a 24 one though, 1924, and I had to do the carriage string. Yeah,
and that was the only thing. I didn't have to replace the carriage string. I just had to reattach it.
I had to replace it. Yeah.
They're so durable.
I can't. Yeah, I couldn't believe it. What a find!
A folding typewriter. That's amazing.
What's that?
For it to be a folding typewriter, it's amazing that they still.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. That's right.
They were slamming them. They had to be. The reporters out there. Boom. I know they were slamming them. I know.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, they were.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like
mad at their.
And it's funny because in the antique shop where I found this when I took it to the front desk, I did this.
Yes.
I asked if it doesn't have the plate that covers this.
Yeah.
And so when I brought it to the front desk and I said, "Do you have the plate that covers this?" And when I opened it up, they went, "I didn't know it. I didn't know
It's
it
like a
did that."
transformer, you know. What is this Megatron you brought to
I'm
us?
like, you guys have no idea what you have
Selling
no
here.
idea what you have in your store
Yeah.
and how special this is. I will give you a whopping $25 for this machine. Like,
Wow,
you tell me maybe
There it
even
is.
30 out the door.
Yeah, I
The
had to
Irish
pay
shekels
$50
over
for mine.
here.
Yeah, because mine came with the book, it came with the case, it came with all that stuff. So they have $50 for mine. But yeah,
That's
you got them. You got them.
Yeah, I did. Yeah,
Well,
I really did.
I didn't end up paying that. They saw the greedy twinkle in my eye,
No,
and we
never
settled it
mind.
around $80. And I was
Oh,
like, "I'll take it. I'll take it.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, I
Pay
would
cash.
too.
Let's go."
And
I mean,
it
that's the
works.
thing.
You know, I take-
Yeah.
you rarely,
Yeah.
you know, if you can get a typewriter up and running, it's almost always worth the money.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
I mean, we've all had that experience. Like I have a Remington World War II field desk typewriter
Oh,
that
it's so cool.
you know is cool, but like it's not worth really repairing. I mean, I paid a whopping $60 for it. Like whatever,
That's
you
cool
know what I
though,
mean?
man.
But you know, so we all like have that. I think Nick's got at least one or two that you know were kind of duds. I know
Yep.
I think your first couple were duds as well, Natasha. You know, and it's like everybody kind of has those stories. It's almost like being a gun owner, and it's like as you know, you have at least one gun you regret selling or trading off. You
Mhm.
know, and it's the same thing, but for the most part, like you always want to encourage people or don't let people get discouraged about getting into the typewriter game because it's like, dude, for the amount of money you'll spend, you know,
Yeah.
like you're gonna have an awesome, unique experience.
Yeah.
You know, and there's nothing like it.
And I let my kids play on them. You know, they
Yeah,
actually
kids love 'em.
He got them a Royal. He found a Royal Quad
Oh,
Deluxe
yeah.
for them and gave it to them for Christmas.
Yeah, for
And-
like
and-
$60.
Yeah, and we homeschool too. So when they want to
Yeah.
write something or
Yeah,
type
too.
something, I'm like, do it on your typewriter. You don't have to handwrite any book reports. Just type it. You have a typewriter, go for it. They love it. And now
Yeah.
they're like learning like Morse code. They're learning Morse code and they're doing like Morse code on the typewriter, and it sounds so cool.
Just like the KGB.
It's so
You
fun.
know?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I'm training. I'm building up little spies right now. It's fun. It's really fun.
Yeah, I'm homeschooling now too. I mean, because
Are
of
you
COVID.
really?
Yeah, I won't
Oh,
let
right,
it-
yeah.
Good for
I
you.
won't until I mean now they have the vaccine out, and I don't want to get into that controversy. But
Yeah.
eventually she'll go back, but I want to make sure she goes back safely. That's all.
Yeah, understood.
I'm with you there,
Understood.
Sure.
Well, homeschooling is no small task. You know.
No, it's not. At
And,
first, I was going to give up. I was like, hey, I guess I'll take my chances. We're not going to work. This is not going to work. And then by day 3, she was independent. She was doing her work and all that. I was like, oh, thank God, we got through that.
Yeah.
We can
Because I was going
survive
to send them over there. I was like, Paul, we're going to have to send her back.
this.
Yeah, I've heard that a lot too, because we've homeschooled since day one. That was kind of the plan when we got married. When we have kids, we're going to homeschool.
Yes.
And
Yeah,
You
they're
know,
used to it. They're broken.
yeah, we are. But we have heard that over the past year and a half.
Yeah.
People that have said, you know what, the school situation, the public school situation is kind of untenable right now. We're going to go ahead and homeschool our kids, and they're worried
Yes.
about, are they going to be able to keep their kids on track?
Yeah.
And they're surprised that their kids are like, I kind of know what I have to do, and they just do it. They kind of know what's expected of them.
She knows what time. She said, Mom, you don't have to tell me what time it is. You don't, because I have my alarm set to
Yeah,
where, hey, it's this time. You don't have to tell me. And it was so funny. Over the past few days now, she's like, she hears the alarm on my phone, and I just don't say nothing. I just sit. She'll say, don't tell me what time it is. I know what time it is. It's just this little voice. I know what time it is.
It's great.
Don't tell me.
She's 11. Is that right?
Yeah.
11. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's that age.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Well, the
cute.
cool thing about homeschooling that you guys are experiencing that she doesn't get to experience in public school is that she can kind of just take charge of it herself. She can get charge. It's her
very,
time.
like
I know.
self-actualizing.
Yeah, I'm
for
gonna
kids.
go. I know what time it is. You don't have
Yeah.
to tell me. I'm gonna knock it out. That is
It
really cool.
It's real character building.
makes her independent.
It does.
I love it.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
got my boys, they're grown. One is 25. He's here with me because he didn't want to live in Arkansas. He didn't want to stay in Arkansas. So he came up here when he was done with school. So he's 25. And I have a son that's 23. And he still is in Little Rock.
Okay.
Now, when you talk about somebody coming in and seeing 40-something typewriters, he did recently come visit me and saw all these typewriters. He was like, ooh, wow. He was You know,
It's like, mom's had a psychotic
and I
break.
started talking to him about him, explaining stuff, and that's when he was like, "Oh, okay, cool." Then he drifts right over there to the Big Mac over there, and started working on that instead. So,
Yeah, you know,
That's all right.
Yeah.
That's all
but
right.
that's okay, you know. And but I do wonder what are they gonna do with these when I leave, because I don't want anything to happen. But I do have a type out event coming on the 20th. So I may be willing to trade or sell at that point a few, maybe a couple of them. I don't.
Yeah.
But if they approach me about the wrong one, like this one, I'm not gonna let that go. But yeah, speaking of that, I just worry sometimes, like what's gonna happen here? Because they're not interested at all. Like
We need to organize something like that. We need to do type out here in Spring Hill, or maybe have a type in, maybe have it here, in the lounge. Yeah, that'd be cool, man.
See, I want to type in, but when I reached out to the library, they said that they, due to COVID, they couldn't do it inside. So that's why I named it a type out.
Oh, yeah.
Where are you guys doing it?
And stuff like that,
Yeah.
Not tents, but what I'm saying. Well, it's going to be this, I guess you call it a tent, and then you got portable tables and chairs and stuff like that.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Set up a pavilion with some portable tables.
Awesome.
That's a good idea.
That's awesome. Get the word out.
Yeah.
I love the public's reaction when they see somebody using a typewriter.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a moth to a flame. It's the most alluring thing for people.
I'd be
Everybody's
drawn to
interested.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. People always think that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like street magic.
Yeah.
It really is. It's like street magic.
Yeah. Except
they know it exists.
Yeah.
And they just want to get an up close look. Mm-hmm. Maybe just try it themselves a little bit
and see what you're writing. It's awesome.
Yeah.
That's like,
you did that.
I was typing at the park.
Yes.
People look at me weird. That's it.
Yeah.
And then, and people want to photograph them. Yeah. But other than that,
there was a great picture on your Instagram of you outside doing some public typing.
I love that picture.
Yeah.
That's a great,
black and white one?
I think so.
Yeah, it's black and white.
Yeah, black and white one.
Yeah, Paul took that of me through infrared. That's why I looked weird, because infrared gives you a ghostly appearance.
Oh, cool. All right.
It actually softens your skin so you don't look so old too,
I gotta remember that.
I remember that.
For you, yeah. But that's what he took me. I was like, I like that picture. I'm gonna put it up, even though, I was like, well, I'm a little self-conscious about certain things, but I was like, I like that. I'm gonna put it up. I don't care. So picture. Because it catches me in the moment, So.
Yeah, candid pictures, man. It's especially something like that with something unique about it. You know, it's cool. It's character building. It's really neat.
It was well done. It was very well done.
Well,
I'll tell you, you have answered all of my questions. I don't know if you have any questions left.
My only other question was, I'm interested in your steampunk fashion stuff. That's something that steampunk is cool.
Steampunk.
I remember playing a computer game called Thief the Dark Project back in the late 90s, which was one of the OG steampunk sorts of things. So I've watched the steampunk movement crescendo and ebb and flow and come and go. But I'm curious, is there a correlation between steampunk and cameras and then typewriters, and is it an overall motif that you find yourself drawn towards, or are they all their own little separate thing that you're into for different reasons?
Separate thing, because I was always into antiques and antique furniture, antique everything. When I saw steampunk for the first time, I was watching this show on. It was one of those shows where they talked about strange things. It was this, I don't know if you remember, it's a store in New York that sells odd things. I think it was something odd, oddities or something. They sell spiders in a jar and junk like that.
Oh, yeah. Ripley's Believe It or Not kind of stuff.
Yeah. So people came in dressed in steampunk gear. They were all in this 1700s, 1800s gear. But it was new, new old stuff they were wearing. And that's how I got in touch with that. I was like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Typewriters, how they ended up, how I learned about certain things with how typewriters tie into steampunk. People, and I hate this, but they take the keys and certain parts of the typewriter and make it part of the outfit or make it jewelry.
Mhm.
Oh, okay.
I've seen
I
that.
didn't know. I wasn't even into typewriters
Okay.
when I was doing steampunk. I made my own, or I bought little trinkets and stuff from Hobby Lobby that was vintage. And then I made my own jewelry. I made my hats. I did all that. Put in the holes in it with the grommets and stuff.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
Uh-huh.
None of my stuff had anything to do with typewriters, but apparently you can. Some people make the little necklaces out of typewriter pieces, so that is tied into typewriters. Can be tied into steampunk.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I
that-
think Richard Polt talked about that in his book Typewriter Revolution, where he showed like
Mhm.
some pictures of some people who had like incorporated typewriters into like almost like a matrix style kind of computer, you know.
Yeah,
Mm.
You can do a bunch of cool stuff, like a bunch of cool art projects if you got like some old. Do you remember those old Christmas oil lamps that you could hang on your tree that were like bubbly? They plug in and they just got like some oil and they bubble up.
Oh
you
yeah,
know?
yeah.
You can do
Yeah,
like
yeah.
some little stuff like that, you know, incorporate them with typewriters, and like there's just a whole like awesome art scene. I think
Yeah.
that could be built around that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Steampunk is cool, you know. Like I unashamedly love
That's pretty-
steampunk. So yeah, that's awesome, Natasha. You are fascinating. You were
Yeah.
super cool.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm-
about the steampunk, a couple of my pieces went to museum.
Really?
It went. Okay, hold on. Let's see. Antique Automobile Club of America. The Antique Automobile Club of America, which is in
Really?
Hershey, Pennsylvania. They saw my work and said, "Hey, we want you in there." And so I was like, "What? Okay," because they're doing their first steampunk installation, and I think it's their last. I don't know how well it went.
Really?
We did go to it, but it was their first one. And the lady, you know, we brought my stuff up there. We drove all the way up there, put it in. It was in there from June to November, sort of thing. It was just a few months, and she mailed it all back. But and it was great. You know, I was in there. I put pictures up that Mark Harbin, if you still watch, of my steampunk work and stuff like that. And I got into that. Yeah, it was the museum where Whitney Houston's cars in there.
Cool.
The first automobiles are in there. I was hoping Jay Leno was going to be around there, but I don't think he ever showed up. I like him and his cars. But yeah, so my steampunk dresses ended up there, and that's the pinnacle of my steampunk career right there, was being able to be in a museum like that. And it's
Still do it?
Fascinating. That's so
with
cool.
the Smithsonian. So yeah.
Wow, that's
Yes.
awesome. Do you still do steampunk fashion?
I don't sew at all right now because I don't have a space, and I lost out on a big deal recently because my old choir director wanted me to make their formals, but I don't have a space to work in anymore. You know, when my son moved home, he took that space. He had to, and there was no place for him to go. So all my stuff is up there. All my sewing. I collected sewing machines like I collect typewriters. Only I don't have 3 sewing machines, but yeah, I have a sewing machine from the 40s that works perfect.
How cool!
Yeah. Beautiful thing, yeah.
That's awesome.
I collected those like that, and collected cameras. Paul will tell you if I don't even know if he's in there talking, but yeah, you got cameras, you got all this. I was like, hey, you know,
What's your favorite camera that you own?
Ooh, it's the Kiev 88, which is ironic because it's a knockoff Hasselblad. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if you're familiar. It's a Kiev 88. It's an old Russian camera that was a knockoff of the Hasselblad. And Hasselblad is very, very expensive. But for the price I paid for having 4 Kiev 88s now, I could have bought an
actual, right? Yeah.
You know, the Kiev 88 is a medium format box sort of camera. And it has the most beautiful lens action. I mean, bokeh. Are you familiar with bokeh? Bokeh?
That sounds familiar. Yes. Yeah.
It's gorgeous. I mean, people put it down because it's Russian built, you know, and so Russian cameras apparently back then didn't have, or now I don't know.
Yeah, they made the AK-47, and that's pretty awesome. So
that's true.
So yeah, I love my Kiev 88, and I also love my twin lens reflex, my TLR Yashica.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I'm in the picture with the camera right there. But yeah, as far as vintage camera, those are my 2 favorites. I like the Nikon F3.
Yep.
That's right, because it has you can look down in it like you do the Kiev 88 and shoot pictures.
Yeah, it's got that topside
You can
viewfinder.
remove
Yeah.
that. Yeah. So I
Yeah.
like
Cool.
The F2s, I don't think offered that.
my most favorite cameras to use on a regular basis though is the what's it called? Oh man, I feel bad now that I'm gonna it starts with an M. Leica took their
Minolta?
Minolta, thank you. Yes.
Yeah.
Leica took a lot of their camera, what you call it? They use some of their ideas or whatever for their cameras from
Massive patent infringement.
Yeah. It's Minolta XG1.
Okay.
Those are beautiful too. Beautiful cameras to shoot with.
Do you develop?
I like the R4, but the lens that's with it, I don't like much. So I need to get another lens, which is not cheap because
Really?
Yeah.
You know, I never replaced my Nikon F2 in 2010 after I lost it because Wolf Camera shut down.
Mhm.
And there was and that was like the only place I ran Ilford True Black and White.
Yes.
You know, right? Like Ilford was awesome, and it has that sharper, more chromatic look to it, and feel to it than like the standard stuff that's just decolorized. You know, but the problem is Walgreens, CVS, none of the places that you would go to take actual film would develop true black and white. So it sounds like you have some manual SLRs, some 35 millimeter SLRs. Do you develop them yourself, or do you have somebody that you send them to get developed?
I had a guy who I sent him to. I don't do it here myself, even though Paul has darkroom experience. He did all this back in his day.
Cool.
But as far as the chemicals and stuff, he doesn't want that in the house, you know. Because,
sure.
So we don't even have room for that anyway. So I have to send them to somebody to have it done. Yeah, I have to. The guy I used to send them to, he moved to Ohio now. So
wow.
Tried someone else, and I had a very bad experience. I have that experience on Instagram. Ooh, I never had nobody yell at me like that before. But,
really?
Go past you know,
who are they? What are their names?
They messed it up, you know, and it was Ilford. It was Ilford black and white film, you know. And then I had color, which was Fujifilm color. They saved the color, but they destroyed my black and white.
Oh, jeez. There's nothing like it. I always felt, you know what's weird? You might have seen this before, Natasha, but I got into my grandmother's typewriter in 2005, and then a couple years later, I got my Nikon F2 Photomic and started taking, manual 35 millimeter. By the way, I hated the 50 millimeter lens. The 35 millimeter lens is awesome. I could never get the 50 millimeter lens to work for me. It always felt like I think maybe you just get used to the 35 millimeter, but the 50 millimeter lens just felt like too truncated for me. I'm sure you could teach me how to appreciate the 50 millimeter, but
that's what I started with, was a nifty 50. Yeah.
Did you really?
Yeah, that's the first lens I got. Yeah, and then the 35 millimeter, which is great, like you say. It's it's as far as artistic action, 35 millimeter, and some people probably debate me on this. It doesn't have the artistic factor to me, like a 50 would with the bokehs, and it has more. I don't have a word for it. It's just something about the 35. It seems like it's still a wide lens. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It can distort, and also you can see too much of the background in a 35 millimeter lens. I like my background to kind of fade out a little bit, and that's when
that was the difference. I liked the more wide angle cinematic scope to the 35 millimeter. I wasn't used to how, in my mind, how hyper focused the 50 millimeter was, but you like the 50 millimeter because it didn't create as much distraction with revealing the background.
Backgrounds, yes. That's why I love the Kiev 88 lenses, because it killed the background.
Yeah.
So in my YouTube account, actually the results of all my Kiev 88s are in that YouTube account. It looks more pictorial list, pictorial, where they made pictures blurry on purpose.
Yeah, yeah, like the
Like,
Instagram filters that we all use nowadays.
Yeah.
You know?
That's what they come up like. And what's crazy is I read about pictorialism. I'm sorry, I got to get into this. I was watching Pinterest about it, and people didn't like the new cameras coming out. People didn't like photography and all that. They were scared of it, I guess, because they had their artists that paint and all this. So the what they did was while they were taking a picture, they kick the tripod on purpose to make it blur, make the picture look like. Yeah, you can look it up and see. Yeah,
Wow.
on purpose so they would have that look. I was like, man, that's crazy.
That's how you get that blurry effect. Yeah, that's hilarious.
Yeah. So you, but yeah. Oh, you need some? I'm sorry, my son needed something. You need something? Okay. He's on the floor, so he won't disturb me.
That's cute. What a good kid.
But
What a little trooper.
But
awesome.
Yeah, so they kicked the camera tripod on purpose to get that effect.
That's so funny.
That must be the exclusive camera for taking pictures of Bigfoot.
Yeah, that's a Bigfoot cam. Yeah,
because it's always blurry.
It's always blurry. Yeah, it's like that Mitch Hedberg joke. Like, what if the scariest thing about Bigfoot is that he's blurry in real life? What if he's really just blurry?
He probably
Speaking
is.
of which, so like that actually, funnily enough, that actually circles back to like what I was going to ask you. You like stuff from, you know, the 40s and 50s and 60s. This was in the 70s, so it's a little late, but I got into like typewriters and manual SLRs around the same time that I rediscovered Kolchak the Night Stalker with Darren McGavin. Have you ever seen this show?
No. What Kojak? You say Kojak, right?
Kolchak with Darren McGavin, the dad from A Christmas Story.
No.
So like it only ran for like one season, and he was a journalist who worked for like some tiny little newspaper in Chicago. This was in like the early 70s, early to mid 70s.
Sounds good.
And it only ran for one season, and he was like this bumbling kind of like proto Fox Mulder X-Files kind of like, he didn't mean to like run into like swamp monsters and vampires and Jack the Ripper, but he always did. And he's always like wearing a seersucker suit and like running around with his little camera and typing his little reports on his typewriter.
That's awesome.
And dude, Kolchak, Kolchak, the Night Stalker. You gotta check it out. You probably would love that show. I watch it like every 2 or 3 years. I'll burn through. They only did one season,
I
like
gotta
20
see it. I've
something
never seen
episodes. But
I love that guy though. I love
Darren
the guy.
McGavin, man,
the dad from the Christmas Story.
Yeah, but if you're like into, it's got that early 70s kind of like fun mod feel to it of, you know, and he's kind of a dork, you know, so like he's not an action guy at all. So, but he runs around with his little camera, you know, and he's always typing his stuff, and it's a lot of fun. It's very gratifying. So, anyways,
awesome.
yeah, you might enjoy it. So,
well, let me ask you this: we normally towards the end of the live stream we do typewriter one-offs.
Oh yeah.
I typed something. Jonathan typed something. We're going to take turns reading it. Did you have anything that you you typed or wrote that you'd want to read for the one-off, or?
No pressure. We always leave it open to the guest if they want to. I don't think any guest has actually taken us up on this yet, though.
Adam has.
Oh, Adam does.
Adam
yes,
did.
that's
Yeah.
right. Adam has.
Did.
Our narrator. Yeah.
So if there's nothing you want to read, that's okay. But if you do have something, I would love to hear a sample of your writing.
Let me think of something that I had. It's a 1 page though, right? Just 1 page.
One page, 2 page.
I break that rule a lot. Natasha,
something short.
I'll tell you right now.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah.
No, because it's like when you do the one-offs, they're like a 1 page story, isn't it? It's not a continued story, right?
It could be even a chapter
or
or
an
a snippet of a story that you're writing.
I've done excerpts before.
Yeah, you've done excerpts.
Yeah, from my various books. Yeah.
It could be a rant, a journal entry. It could be
They're
anything.
usually rants.
Yeah, just anything. Yeah.
You don't have to. We could always do it next time.
I'm thinking of something, but I have this thing I typed up once for Typewriter Club Live. It was the haunted typewriter. It wasn't haunted. It was something. Oh goodness! It was the. Well, it was about a typewriter that that someone found in the attic. The
Very
fortune
cool.
telling typewriter. Yes, the fortune telling typewriter.
Ooh, that sounds cool.
Neat.
That sounds cool.
They found it in the attic, and the thing just started telling them about themselves. It just started.
Oh, that's awesome.
There's a Royal 10 in the attic, and it just started just saying stuff.
That's pretty cool.
Now, I could read a page from that. Let me go get it.
Yeah. Oh man, that'd be
Yeah.
fantastic.
Dude,
That
that's
would be
awesome.
fantastic.
A Goslings exclusive.
Yes, this is awesome. That'd be fantastic. I did so. Mine is like I did it on the little Royal
Mhm.
Ultra Portable, the cute little signet back there, and it's double. It's huge font,
That
and
is,
it's super wide double space. This might be the first
this is
3-page.
Oh.
That
Now,
I've done.
see,
2.5.
this is an exercise in irony because I can see Nick pucker every time I pull out my typewriter one-offs
do
because
not
it's
pucker.
always it's always
Don't
like
pucker.
it's always more than one page. Like I am clearly breaking the rules every time, and I know I am because it's my lack of discipline. It's a character flaw in me. And so here comes Nick with a 3-pager.
Yeah, but I read fast, so it's okay.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Whatever. whatever you need to tell yourself. All right, sure.
If I had known Sean Connery was going to be a recurring name in this, I would have written something to read in my Sean Connery accent.
Nick's got a pretty spot on Sean Connery. Yeah,
I love Sean Connery. He's great.
Nick did this.
He might be my male muse. I don't know.
I think he is.
He was my first male muse, actually. When I
Really?
started
Pretty good.
the 15-year itch, he's the lead guy. I mean, I know this is crazy, but he is in the book because in real life there was some type of competition between him and Roger for real. Like even though they were cool, but there was rumored that they wanted Roger as Bond back then, but they picked Sean instead. And Ian Fleming didn't really like Sean because he thought Sean was too brutish, and
You're right. Yeah.
So,
Roger Moore came after Sean Connery, right? As far as the James Bond. Okay,
but
yeah.
there was rumors that they asked Roger first, but Rogers denied it. But they wanted Roger first, but they did ask Roger in 1968 for real, but 69, but Roger was busy with the Saint. He had already filled out a contract for the Saint that year. So it went to that guy who did it just once, that James Bond once. You know who I'm talking about? With the Australian guy?
Oh man, I do. I know the guy. I can see his face. I don't remember his name. No, it's not
ladies, our Queen, our Majesty's Secret Service.
Yeah. Oh,
and so it would have been Roger Moore, but Roger was signed up with the Saint.
So this guy's name too. Yeah,
I forgot his name too. I'm ashamed that I don't know because
I know, me too. Yeah, because he's like the infamous Bond.
Adam Burrow comes to the rescue. George Lazenby.
Thank you.
Yes, that is.
Thank you, Adam. Thank you, Adam.
Our English narrator, of course, is going to know.
Yeah.
who the
infamous. But Mark was his name. Mark is Sean Connery is Mark in my book.
Oh, cool.
Fantastic.
I mean, it's Roger Moore. Yeah.
So when you were writing the characters, could you hear?
Thank you, Adam.
When you were writing the characters, could you hear Sean Connery's voice and Roger Moore's voice as you were typing? Were you kind of imagining that?
I do have to put their voices in. Yeah,
I love it. Yes, I love that.
I hear the voices of even the wives, even all that stuff. I have to. Yeah. I hear Roger's voice every time I'm typing. Is a character that's inspired by him.
Yeah,
that's great. Well, that's method writing, isn't it?
Especially since I've read his biographies and all that stuff. Some of the stuff sounds like something he would say or do. Or whatever.
That's one of the beautiful things I've really appreciated about our narrator, Adam Burrell. When he started doing my Heavenly Realms novels, the audiobook for that, he gave a bunch of accents. He's English, but he does a bunch of really great accents beyond all the UK accents, Russian accents, all sorts of stuff. And it started to inform my writing in a way, like hearing these characters that I'd lived with for decades at this point, interpreted by somebody else in a way that elevated the artwork. It was really cool. So that is a powerful thing. You do have to have that when you're writing. I mean, so many of us do that. Yeah, those specific voices, because it changes how you do it. Like I'd say it all the time. Adam gave one of my villains a Scottish accent, and in my mind, he was always Michael Ironsides, who was like from Starship Troopers and from Total Recall and like whatever, he was like this gruff American, right? But then once he got like this Scottish accent from my narrator, it actually changed how I started writing the character from there on out. So it's good of you to
That's cool.
to keep those accents. Yeah.
That's right.
Do we want to let Natasha go first?
Well, yeah, I was just going to ask if you can read first, or one of us can go first.
We usually rock, paper, scissors.
Yeah, we'll do rock, paper, scissors between us, but we always like to give the guests the option to go first if they want to.
Yeah.
Okay. So I want to get to the typewriter in the story, because I don't know if you want me to read all this, but when Adrian opened the door a bit more. Okay. So I'll start. Okay, I'll go ahead and start with the second page.
Awesome.
So that you can at least get the first thing the typewriter said. So when Adrian opened the door a bit more, he was instantly hit with the musty smell of a cavernous old room that was lit only by a single window. Dust at least an inch in depth covered the hardwood floor throughout. His steps made footprints in it as if it was snow. The boy in him considered lying down and making dust angels, but of course he thought better of it and went on with his exploration. A few feet ahead, he noticed what looked like a medium-sized square-shaped object sitting in the middle of the floor. Curious, Adrian walked over closer to it and discovered that it was an old typewriter. It looked to be from the 1920s and had the word Royal printed prominently in gold on it. Lying on its back next to the typewriter was a small baby doll, undressed, but with big blue eyes fringed with black lashes and short matted blonde hair. Adrian squatted down before the antique typewriter and swept dust from the royal insignia as he inspected it, admiring how polished it was otherwise. There was a clean sheet of paper still in the carriage, seemingly waiting for the next word to be typed on it. But Adrian resisted the temptation to press the pristine glass-covered keys. Instead, he merely grinned at it, stood, and turned away from the relic to see what else he could find. Adrian was 4 paces away from the typewriter when the carriage suddenly, harshly shifted to the left on its own. Startled as the loud sound of the carriage banging the end of the heavy metal typewriter echoed throughout the attic. Adrian hastily turned to face the machine. He was stiff with fear as the keys began to press down. The carriage moved to the right with each one, and black letters slowly appeared on the white sheet of paper. Once a short paragraph was completed, the creepy typing stopped. For a while, both the typewriter and Adrian stood in complete silence. Finally, curiosity won him over. He gingerly approached the apparently haunted typewriter, squatted down again, and read its words. You long for a mother's love. That is why you married her. The miscarriage of a daughter was a relief. Wow. She is to love no one or nothing except but you. Orphaned at 2 months of age by a teenage mother, and because it was also true that his wife Lucinda had suffered a miscarriage early in their marriage, Adrian was rightfully astonished by the words typed in black and white on the sheet of paper before him. The accuracy was uncanny, but he still could not believe what was happening. He said, "Who are you?" He questioned the machine. "Is this some sort of a bloody gag?" Because he's English. Yeah. Bloody gag. The typewriter's carriage shifted harshly to the left again. Another paragraph was quickly typed before his blue eyes. You resent your biological mother. Though you may say that you understand her reason for leaving you, you resent that she went on to marry and have more children. So that's... I mean,
that's good. That's awesome. That's a cool scene. That's a really cool scene.
What inspired that, Natasha?
Well, there was a writing prompt with the Typewriter Club Live. Yeah. I don't remember if it was about haunted typewriters. I don't remember what your typewriter says to you. I forget. I'm sorry. But I wrote this story for that. And I also wrote a story about what would you a typewriter going to hell for an interview to interview the devil. And you know the devil's right hand man. You know who it is, right? Every time, who's the devil's right hand man?
Hitler.
Yep, that's it.
Good choice.
Well, you know, it's tough to beat that mustache.
I was going to say Ryan Reynolds.
You don't like him.
Ryan Reynolds as Hitler.
Ryan Reynolds as
How
Hitler.
dare you, sir? How dare you? That's cool. You know, it kind of reminds me of just as far as like visually, it reminds me of. Did you ever watch the show Fringe?
Yeah, that's what
on
I was
Fox?
Mm-mm, no, I haven't.
Fringe was a cool show. It kind of, in a weird way, it kind of actually was like Kolchak the Night Stalker, and because in that it like was a successor to the X-Files. But there was like this, without going too much into it,
It was a similar scene.
it was a very similar scene where like you could go into this special room and there was this typewriter that you could communicate with an alternate dimension, and there was somebody on a typewriter in an alternate dimension, and so like the typewriter would type backwards and you had to read it like through a mirror.
Yeah,
It was poised, and you could like ask it questions. It's really
It was
cool.
cool.
It's like I think it was in like the first or second season. I think
Yeah.
the second season, like first couple episodes of the second season.
Isn't it?
Fringe, very very cool show. You'd probably really dig it.
Yeah.
It's kind of got that Twilight Zone kind of vibe to
You
it.
see, I love the Twilight Zone, so that's kind of where I got that from, because it's my couple, Lucinda and Adrian.
I like that more. Your concept is that's really cool. Have you ever thought about like developing that into something more than just like a competition entry?
Yeah, I mean, I'm writing their courtship now for Nanowrimo, so I can finish that, and then after that, I'm going to write the marriage, so the stuff they go through during their marriage, and then the end, which is kind of sad, but But yeah, so that's it's an ongoing thing, and these typewriters are the reason. I mean, I've done except for the Nanowrimo. The beginning of that was with the computer, of the Adrian and Lucinda. So that part of it is computerized, but the rest of it, as far as the marriage counseling and stuff like that, I wanted to type it. Oh, let me explain that, because I wanted the marriage counseling to look like the secretary is typing it. That's what the correlation to typewriters is.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Back then in 1963, whenever he took his notes, any man of importance or one, back then being
Have a secretary.
they would have the secretary type up all their notes. They were writing, like he'll be up there writing and scribbling. The secretary has to go and type all this mess up.
That's right.
So that's what he's doing. Sharon is actually typing these, not me. You understand? Like that's what it is.
That's cool.
Gotcha.
I just think you could do like a whole thing off of like a haunted typewriter or whatever it was. Just a
haunted typewriter story to make it a series. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, like if you did something where like there was just like this spooky typewriter that cut straight to the heart of your psychology and could predict your future, like your involvement with tarot, you know, and like what if you had like different typewriters that all had supernatural qualities to it? Like, I don't know. Maybe it's cheesy, but it sounds really cool.
No, I actually have ideas.
I think it's really
right now
awesome.
about haunted typewriters.
If each typewriter in here had a story and somehow it could tell its own story.
Yeah.
Yeah, and maybe they had like, different supernatural qualities to them.
Yeah.
Like
Like this little guy from the 20s. I just wonder what was typed on this. Who owned it? What is their story?
It's got like an Al Capone gangster soul in it.
It's got probably bootleggers.
Yeah.
That's what I want to know. Like, because even further in this story right here, I do write about it's a bit of a it's revealed to him that his best friend has a crush on him who is in love with him. So the typewriter told him that, and he's a guy. So, and this was in what year? I didn't tell you the year, did I?
No.
This was 1962. 1962.
You told us the year of the typewriter. You said it was a 1910, right? 10?
The Royal, the typewriter
it's
in
the
the
Royal
10. It's a 1920s typewriter.
1920s.
But the story itself is from 1962.
That's
Okay.
a cool concept
Cool.
for a story, Natasha.
Very
It's pretty
cool.
neat, Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, man. Well, we got to see who goes next.
Oh yeah. Yep.
We always rock, paper, scissors for it. I
Yeah, because
usually
we're children.
lose. Yeah.
So 1, 2, 3, shoot.
Damn it, I always lose.
See, Nick has a pattern for all of these, and I'm just like kind of dumb, so I never pick up on the patterns. I just get lucky.
And I'm a new author. I've only been doing this for like 2 years, and the only thing I've really written is like a middle grade. It's a kids fantasy series.
He's written a lot. Like whatever, he's down.
I'm trying. I haven't been writing
He's
for
done-
like a decade and a half, like Jonathan. But I'm cutting my teeth on all this. So this is obviously
And
oriented
he's way
toward
more successful.
kids
so.
are my audience. Kids are my audience.
Oh, you do young adult?
I've done one young adult novel.
Supernatural kind of thriller,
Yeah.
young adult. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah,
It was fun.
but most
So-
of his stuff is what you would call like middle grade, I guess. Like
Yeah,
Harry
middle
Potter
grade.
age.
yeah, 8 to 13.
Yeah.
You know, and then I did a young adult. What's
You
that?
see, I could do that. I can't. One day I'm going to write a book for kids. My books,
It's tough.
yeah. To try to walk that line to not get.
Right. To not talk
Yeah.
about the things you're. Yeah.
I crossed the line a couple times and had to be corrected by my wife. Like, that's too graphic. That's too violent.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm like, oh yeah, I didn't think about that. Yeah,
Yeah.
Go back and change it.
It's hard,
it
man.
is hard.
I can't do it.
It is
You
hard.
know, all
The
my
re-
stuff's. adult.
I wouldn't be too worried about those instances because you know,
Mhm.
if you have people you trust, they can call you out on those. But the majority of it is really easy for me because I feel like I'm still a kid in a lot of ways. I just
We are.
love.
I don't know if you've noticed that or not, Natasha. Or,
I'm 44 years old. I take my
middle-aged children.
I'm 44 years old. We go to Walmart or Target, and they're like, "I want to go
Where's
look
the
at the. I
lightsabers?
want to go to the toy section." I'm like,
Me too.
"Yeah, let's go look at some toys. That's just cool. That's where the cool
That's
stuff
like
is."
toy section. They have to drag me there. I'm like, oh.
You know, so I'm very much.
we
a-
were so depressed when Toys R Us closed down.
Oh.
Well, me too. I was bummed on that because my daughter only got a touch of that. A touch of.
Yeah, see,
Do you remember the memories going to Toys R Us?
We got a bit of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was.
All right, here we go. Here we go. One more sip.
Just got to get prepared.
Yeah, okay. Nigel tucked his shirt in and fastened his belt as tight as he could. He wrapped his knit scarf around his neck twice before locking it into place with his heaviest winter coat. It was a thick, black, puffy coat his grandma had purchased for him at Target. Apparently, she had little faith in Nigel's own mother to provide essentials. The coat made it difficult to bend over and lace up the snow boots, so off it all had to come, and he redressed himself in order after his footwear was applied. Underneath the boots, Nigel had a double layer of wool socks. He had stolen these socks from his stepdad's dresser. Stepdad would never notice and wasn't even home that night. It was his shift at the local fire department. It was just Nigel and Mom, who was nuking another frozen pizza for them to split. As Mom stared at the glass microwave door, no doubt daydreaming about a tropical beach and a kid-free vacation, Nigel thumped through the kitchen, fully dressed to take on the deep winter night's chill. "And where do you think you're going?" Mom asked. "Pizza is almost ready." Nigel didn't miss a step or slow down as he replied, "I need some air. I'm going for a ride." "It's 8 o'clock, Nigel. It's pitch black and freezing outside. Hardly the weather for a bike ride." "I'm not taking my bike," Nigel said matter-of-factly. "Then what are you planning? What are you planning on riding, sweetie? A snowboard?" "Dragon," Nigel said.
Sure.
The very word rumbled from his tongue, its gravitas perfectly matching the dark look hovering over his red eyebrows. Mom chuckled. His imagination drove him to do dangerous things sometimes, but it was enduring and delightful, and she was grateful that their portion of poverty hadn't crushed his spirit or enthusiasm for make-believe. Still, it was too cold for her 8-year-old son to go wandering outside and play alone. "Let me grab my coat," Mom said. "We can eat when we come back inside." Nigel stopped with his hand on the doorknob. This was unexpected. Mom was going with him? "I don't think you'll have fun with me and Drake. It gets pretty intense," Nigel said. "Drake?" Mom asked, as she slipped her final arm into the coat sleeve. Nigel didn't answer, but raised his red eyebrow in an "Are you kidding me" arch. "Oh, right," Mom said. "The dragon. Well, I'm still going whether you think I can handle it or not." "I was a kid once too, you know," she said. Nigel sighed, thinking, "Suit yourself," and yanked the door open. The winter wind blasted into the living room, howling like a bull ice demon. Mom began to cave into her second thoughts, but before she could say anything or do anything, Nigel leapt into the snowy blitz. The visibility was zero, and Nigel vanished from her sight only feet from the front door. Panic crawled up her spine, and she bolted out the door, yelling for her son. She sprinted straight towards the street, though she couldn't see it. Nigel was nowhere to be found. She dashed to her left towards the driveway and tripped over something thick and black, like a charred log dropped from the sky. As she puzzled at the object, it slid away from her and vanished into the white sheet of snow slashing across her vision. "Up here, Mom," said Nigel. It was Nigel's voice, and it did indeed come from above her. "Nigel, where are you? I can't see you," she said. The fear in Mom's voice struck a compassionate chord in her son's brain, so he replied in a loud, low voice, "Down, Drake." 4 heavy thuds in the lawn shook the icicles loose from the gutters. Then all at once the snow stopped blowing in a rage as the giant black leather wings that had been disturbing them stopped their beating and folded alongside a massive creature, atop which, with one leg dangling on each side of its long spiked neck, sat Nigel. Little booger had a dragon after all. I read that to my daughter, Eva May, like right after I wrote it earlier today, and she's like, "Oh, Dad, we got to turn that into a book." So she's created this world already. She's created this world.
Yeah. Well, she's already been the inspiration for one of Nick's books in his Travelers League series.
More than an inspiration, she actually wrote the whole.
She wrote it.
She wrote the whole storyline and the story
ghost
structure.
Written by Nick Goss.
She actually drew a comic strip and stick figures of every single thing that happened, every beat of the story structure. And I'm like, let's write it and publish it.
Yeah, let's roll with it.
Yeah, it's great.
A whole story.
Yep.
Yep. Yeah.
She's way more creative than me.
She's funny, man. They're cool. That is a cool thing about what Nick does with his middle grade fiction is he, like, it started off as being bedtime stories for his kids, and then he kept his kids involved throughout the whole process, you know, to the point where, like, one of them, the Hacker Jack series, I think is like the 2 main characters are his kids.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's just easy inspiration, you know. Good for you, man.
Yeah.
It's called being resourceful.
I have the audience like in my home, like my target audience I live with.
Right.
So
And
as they get old,
homeschool mom.
yeah, the approver.
Yeah, the approver.
Yeah, the
Right.
gatekeeper.
Yeah.
So, but as they get older, I'll probably write for older ages.
Yeah.
See, one thing I need to do as far as a child's book is probably, I told Margot, I'm going to write this book one day whenever I get inspired to do it. Because she'll ask me questions. I'll tell her about the time I went to school with dinosaurs. And so I always tell her, the dinosaurs used to sit with us, but, one day, they couldn't sit with us no more. They started acting up and, they started trying to bite people and eat them, and they couldn't do just stuff like that. I'll just make up. And then lunchtime came, and they had to sit separate from us, and they, segregated.
And the
went to school with
carnivores.
dinosaurs. So I want to do something silly like that.
The T-Rex doesn't play any games. He takes the substitute teachers out.
Mm-hmm.
First recess, substitute teacher's gone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He
Yeah,
get
but he's
mad.
really hard time carrying his lunch tray
Yeah.
because of his tiny little hands.
He couldn't really grab the book, so I tell her he get frustrated because he couldn't.
That's why he was so angry. Yeah, because of his tiny little hands.
Yeah,
The Velociraptors were always playing tricks on him.
And she would just laugh, be like, "Dang, for real?" I was like, "Well,
great idea."
So.
That's
You gotta
really
do
cute.
it. You gotta do it. You gotta write that.
I want to give a say goodnight to Adam real quick. He's a real trooper, man. He's been hanging with us this whole time over in the UK, but I think it's probably like 2 in the morning.
It is like 1:30 there.
Yeah. So, good night, Adam. Love you, buddy. He's got to get to bed. So that's awesome. All right, cool. Mine is a rant. So, but
Uh-oh.
I did keep it to one page. So, I'm trying to
Yeah,
stay.
single spaced and micro font.
Well, yeah. I mean, I barely know how to
I love
work
it.
the typewriter I've had for 20 years. Is all I'm saying.
And this is on the Royal?
Yeah, this is on the Royal.
Cool.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay, here we go. It's been a month since I've had a cigarette, and honestly, I murder every one of you.
I smoke, so I know.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
They say these things get easier with time, but having quit 3 times now, I can tell you that lighting up is like a fish being released back into the water.
Mm.
I don't want to smoke. I know it's bad for me. My lungs suffer, I snore, I lose sleep, I gain weight, I smell bad, and it makes me a bit of a social pariah. But to have those few minutes of blissful escape or the reward with Mexican trumpets sounding in my imagination can hardly be replaced. Society is quick to scold you for such things while offering zero reward or alternative. Ask a doctor about how to mitigate the effects and gain a battle strategy, and they will trot out the same tired cliches. Try the patch, the gum, or this pill. They never want to discuss alternative forms of tobacco use or which cigarettes might have less tar and nicotine. They never want to work with you to discuss how to change up your habits. Oh no, it's just the same tired BS coming from an overpaid, overeducated fool who sees you as nothing more than a lucrative obstacle to his next tea time. And they wonder why smokers are a hard nut to crack. Maybe if you tried a little, you pompous twits. The hard truth is that they don't have an answer, merely corporate sponsorships. No one else has an answer either, just judgment and condemnation. There is no real 12-step program for smokers. No hypnotist really works forever, and even Chantix only goes so far. The real reason why society hates smokers is because you people all know that you don't have an answer. It shines a light on your incompetence and failure. Yet you will lob your slings and arrows at me from behind your Diet Cokes, your booze, and your bacon fat. Spare me your righteous indignation, you meandering fops, you feckless paper tigers. Your sympathy for meth addicts is strong because you have state-sponsored solutions. But there is nothing for the Cools crowd, or the Marlboro cowboy who must live with the void of his sacrifice, or condemn himself to the disgraceful death with every strike of a match. And what's more, you people don't appreciate what smoking affords you. In particular, your safety. There is a thin white smoldering line between your throat and my red right hand. Do you know how many times your asses have been spared by my pack of Marlboro Ultralights? You pissy little pampered attitudes perpetuate in fragile safety thanks to my death stick habit. But now I've quit, so perhaps the fiery hedge of protection has been lifted. You insisted I quit, therefore the barrier is gone. You reap what you sow. Flame on.
That's so good.
Chantix really does work, by the way. Like, I had 2 rounds of Chantix, and by God, it better work considering how much you have to pay for it.
Oh.
Like, Natasha, have you ever known anybody who's taken the Chantix drug to quit smoking?
No, when I quit smoking, I just quit. Like it just, you know what's weird with me? I was driving one day. I used to smoke cigarettes, but I didn't really smoke them often. But when I smoked, it was for stress. You know, it was a stressful moment.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. So I was looking at the cigarette one day. I said, "Does this have any nutritional value whatsoever?"
Yeah.
And I just stopped. I mean,
Good
but
for
I
you.
can't say I perfectly stopped. You know what I'm saying? Like maybe a couple of years later, I had a friend who smoked, and I just pick up a cigarette and smoke with him. You know.
Yeah.
And I still have, I'll be honest with you, there's a pack of Marlboro Blacks in my purse right now. Okay?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Right now. But that only smoke like socially. Like if but that's rare now because of COVID again. When I was practicing, I had e-cigarettes, like electronic cigarettes and electronic cigars and stuff like that. But right now I have that little pack in there in case of stress or whatever because COVID kind of kicked that back in. But I'm not a regular smoker. No, I haven't smoked in like that one cigarette I smoked maybe 6 months ago.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've had one
So
friend
I
that's like,
smoke regular, and then I just stop.
you know, that's
That's
the funny
awesome.
thing. Like, it's very rare, but you will find people like that. I've had one friend who was like you, Natasha, in that regard with cigarettes, where like he would have one maybe every other time I saw him, which was like once every couple months. He just didn't have that gene, that habit gene in him. But then at the same time, you know, there are like, I'm the same way that you are with cigarettes. I'm the same way with alcohol. Like,
Me too.
I-
Yeah, I'm like that. Yeah, with alcohol.
yeah, like, you know, it just doesn't stick. But for some people, for a lot of people, it tends to really stick.
Yeah.
You know,
Notice how quiet I'm being over here.
but that's the thing. Like,
I don't want to admit my problems.
dude, I'll tell you right now, man. Like, Chantix, that drug that they give you, like, first of all, it's super expensive. I had really good insurance through Cigna when I got my prescriptions from them, and I got 2. And even with my really good, I mean, like, most prescriptions that I got maybe cost me like $5, if not free at Walmart. That's how good, like, so even with that, it still was like $300 for a month supply. $300, and then you add on like it was like 500 after insurance, and then with a coupon it bumped it down to like 300. So like,
wow.
It's crazy expensive.
Yeah.
But it really does work in that, like, it really does kind of like rewire your brain to not have any sort of sensory pleasure from the act of smoking. You still have like the psychological aspect of it, you know, that you have to fight. Like, you know, there's not a lot you can do about that, but yeah, man, I mean, you know, it's just, but the problem is like, it's societally, it's not outlawed, you know? So like, while it's not socially preferred, it's still socially acceptable. No one's going to arrest you or give you a ticket for, you know, having a cigarette. You know? So it's so insidious, but like, man, doctors, they would frustrate me because I would go to them and I would be like, you know, all right, so, you know, I'm in my late 30s. Like, I've been smoking for probably 15 years now, or close to 15 years. You know I need to quit, obviously. Like, it's not doing me any favors. It's, you know, but like, let's be realistic, because I've quit twice before, when I was trying to get into the Marines, and then again when I was trying to get into law enforcement. I was having to run a whole lot. Yeah. And so I'm not a runner. I mean, I'm a fat kid at heart. So like, I don't like to run, you know? And so like, I was able to quit then because I had an objective. But now this third time, you know, I'm way too old for any of that stuff. So, so like, I tried asking my doctor, what are some ways, you know, what cigarettes, you know, are less, I know they're all bad. Thank you. I get that. What's like less bad than the others? And what are some other things that I could do? And they didn't really have any answer. They were just like, oh, I don't know, just try the patch, you know, try the gum, you know, or I'll just write you a prescription for Chantix, you know.
Well, see, that's why when I was waitressing, I went for the e-cigarettes, because most of my waitress co-workers, they smoked the regular ones or weed.
Yeah.
You know?
Right. Yeah.
I would go for the e-cigarette, and I feel like I was just like everybody else, you know. So the e-cigarette, even though that's still like a vaping type thing, and vape isn't good either. Yeah. That was pretty cool. I mean, that didn't do anything.
Yeah.
You wouldn't think. I mean,
you know, the trick is, I figured I kind of want to like get into weightlifting, and I want to turn into like Arnold Schwarzenegger or like Hugh Jackman.
You could.
The Wolverine.
Yeah.
You know, and just have a cigar, you know, because you don't inhale the cigar.
Yeah,
so it's not affecting your pulmonary system. So your stamina is still good. You know, I mean, yes, I'll die of mouth cancer at like 60, but you know, whatever.
Like Grant, like Ulysses S. Grant.
Right. You know, yeah. So whatever, in good company.
But I don't understand that. You know, Ulysses S. Grant and Mark Twain were like super close friends. Yeah. Both smoked cigars like a chimney. Yeah. One got the cancer, one didn't.
Yeah, it's a total crapshoot.
Yeah, you don't know.
It really is. Yeah, whatever.
Best just not to do it, man. That's awesome.
Roger Moore smoked cigarettes since he was in the Army in the 40s, right? Yeah. And he started doing the Persuaders with Tony Curtis. Tony Curtis showed him pictures of people's lungs with cigarettes and stuff like that. And he said, oh, I'm not going to smoke no more. I'm just switching over to cigars. And that's how he got into his cigars, and then he smoked cigar. But, you know, he did have a cancer scare, and he had cancer. He eventually died of the cancer that most men, what is it?
pancreatic cancer.
Prostate.
Prostate. Yes, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Prostate
Yeah.
cancer. So
Yeah.
he did have cancer off and on. But,
Yeah.
even with the cigars, because he felt like it was safer for him to smoke cigars. So that's the irony of that.
I mean, in a weird way, it may be, honestly, I don't know. But I remember seeing a picture. I tried showing our dad. Our dad died of lung cancer.
Yeah.
And I tried.
Lifelong smoker.
Yeah.
Since 10.
Yeah. Grew up in like the sticks in North Georgia, like dirt floors in the 40s and 50s. He was born in 45. Is that right?
Yeah, dirt poor.
Yeah. Like his parents used to leave him and his brothers cigarettes, cut up cigarettes for them to
share
have while they were gone.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's
a different
crazy.
world back then,
Yeah.
But I remember showing him a picture of smoker's lungs, charred lungs, and it sticks with me to this day. I still remember showing it to him, and like that really does, the same thing that worked for Roger Moore, man. Like it does carry some weight when you see what it does to you.
Our grandmother, his mom,
Mm-hmm.
Our grandmother died with snuff in her lip.
Oh my gosh,
my aunt Rosie used to dip snuff too, and she would spit it in a can. Yeah, the one that sold. Yeah, she
Spit in a can.
Yeah, in a can.
Nanny
That's
did
right.
that. Yep.
And I used to like the smell of it before. I like the smell of the snuff, but I wouldn't put it in my mouth.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny. It brought back memories when I was reading your book about that snuff factory.
Oh yeah,
the snuff factory in there.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, that reminds me of that. Of course, they did all kinds of tobacco products in that factory, but I thought, man, I remember Nanny dipping snuff, just that fine powder she put in her lip, and then she had one tooth that she held on to. She held on to that one tooth,
and it would just
bless her
roll
heart
down her. Yeah,
oh, bless her heart.
A little traumatizing when you're like 3-4 years old. And she wants to give you a kiss.
Man, I don't blame you for all the times when you had that hospice job, all the times you called out. I can't imagine
that's a tough
a
gig,
more not soul sucking, just depressing, hard to go to job,
soul crushing,
being in hospice.
Yeah.
That's
a tough gig.
Mostly I had the paperwork. I didn't see the patients, but you did talk to them sometimes and stuff like that. And then you had people who got to know them. But, the paperwork was pretty stressful. And then they'd be like, so-and-so died. Well, you got to take their paperwork and put it in a different section. So, when that person died that you may have talked to on the phone. So,
yeah, it's tough.
I know. Well, man, we've really enjoyed talking with you. And
this has been awesome.
I got two questions.
I can stay here all day and do this, really.
We good, too.
Yeah.
Well, I've got two questions for you that we've asked most of our guests. The first one is, what are you working on next? What's coming out next for you?
What you got coming up?
I want to finish the Kensington Island. I want to do it as a screenplay. Kensington Island,
okay,
as a screenplay, and finish my screenplays up, and then submit them, because my best friend, I think she's out there somewhere too, maybe in the comments. I wonder if she's the one that said that thing about Mr. Ed. Because she knew about my crush on Will.
Was it slow production? What was it? Slow.
It was
Walk
Slow production.
Walk Slow. That's her. Yeah, because it just hit me. It's her. I'm so serious. But me and her been friends for 40 years.
Really
fantastic.
This is our 40th anniversary of friendship. I hope she's still there. Because when she did the first time, I didn't think about it. I'm like, Mr. Ed, that's her. I love my sis for that. That's my best friend there.
Okay, cool.
Wilbur, but she has a production company. So if I can get she works with a production, she is. So if I can get my screenplay finished, I'd like to submit that and see if we can independently do something.
Cool.
That would be my next project there.
So you've been friends for 40 years. See, okay, I like. A gentleman never asked a lady her age, but I'll tell you,
you were born in the same hospital. You're saying.
It threw me for a loop when you said you have a son who's 25, because I was running the numbers. I was like, "There's no way Natasha's that old." Like, all right,
Well, you give your birth year in your biography in your book, and basically it's same as our slightly older brother BJ.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Around the same time.
You're doing a lot better than him, Natasha.
She's younger. Yeah, she's younger. She's younger, and he's not 50 yet.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm in there somewhere in the middle.
Yep. Somewhere in the middle.
Well, you're doing something right.
My best friend's 4 years younger than me. So
cool.
and we met. If I can tell you a quick story about how we met. She
Please.
used to live it was a house next door, and she was the house over there.
Mhm.
And it was a man named Mr. John that was her like a godfather. And she can say if I'm right or wrong. I don't know if she's in the comments, but he was our godfather. Really, he was really old back then, and he used to keep a cigar in his mouth, and then he was drooling from it sometimes. And for years, we called her Cassandra because of him. Because he would say, "Yay, Chandra, yay, Chandra," you know. And her name is Celeste, you know, LaChandra Celeste, and we'd be like, "Oh, her name's Cassandra." Yeah, my whole family just started calling her Cassandra. I don't know where I got that from. My name is LaChandra Celeste. I was like, "Oh, yes, it
Whoops.
and then, so when I first met her, I was playing in my yard, and she walked up to me, and she was smaller then. She was down there, and she was only 4, and I was 8. And I said, "What does little kid want to play with me for? What she?" I said, "We're both only kids. We're both only children." And Mark Harbin, the guy that went with me to these houses, he's the only child too.
Oh, cool.
And we should do an only child group or something. And Roger,
no
he's an only child too. All of us are only children. So anyway, me and her started playing together after that and hanging out and stuff. So yeah, I mean, and now she's taller than me. Like she grew up and was like,
Of
way
course. Yeah. That's funny how that works. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Of
Yeah.
course.
Man, that's awesome. It's so rare to have a lifelong friend like that. That's really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome.
We
Especially
talk every day, you know. I mean, because life is life, but it's like when we do talk, it's like we pick up where we left off, like nothing changed, nothing happened.
Yeah, that's a real friend. That's awesome.
that's cool. That's really cool. My second question is, you want to come back? We'd love to have you on again.
Can we have you back sometime?
Yeah, sure, I do that. Yeah,
That'd be great. I mean, of course, we chat on Instagram all the time.
Yeah.
I follow your page, and I think everyone should. Find her at, do you pronounce it Najo Type Life? Is that right?
Najo was a combination of my boys' names because that was before Marco was even thought about. So it's Nathan and Jordan. So it's Najo. Yeah.
That's cute.
That's my
Najo Type Life.
That's where it came from. Was my fashion design. So that's my designer label. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Very cool.
So you got, let's see, you have your Instagram handle. Are you on Twitter also?
Yeah, I am. I'm Najo 1973, so that told on me too. So it's
You're only 10 years older than me. Come on. Yeah, that's all right. Yeah. Okay, Najo 1973 on Twitter, and then you got a YouTube channel also, correct?
Yes, that's Najo Photography. Natasha Rawls, Najo Photography. Yeah.
Okay.
So,
perfect.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then do you have any Facebook pages where people can find you?
I do. It's Najo Designs. Najo Design. That's my personal account. I had a book account and all that, but it's just too much. Like you say, it's too much to keep up with. I can't. It's like I can't keep doing this. I need somebody to help me with paying for
I have a good friend who's a big believer in me, despite myself and all the reasons I convince her not to be. But she's like a big marketing guru, and she really helped me by helping me consolidate all of that stuff into one singular brand that would be easy to find across everything, like with one single name, and making it more of an umbrella, so that because it's so easy to get like fragmented where you have like, especially in your case, because you're so diverse.
Yeah, you do so many things. Yeah.
I mean, you got your fashion, and you have your photography, and then you have your novels. That sort of thing. If you ever want any help, let me know, and I could put you in touch with her because she would love to work with you. And she's
been I'd like to see about that. Yeah.
So, and then you also have 2 novels out, correct?
3 actually. They're 3? On. I'll explain that. They're on Amazon. The first book would be The 15-Year Itch.
Yep. Okay. Did you do the covers for these also yourself?
Yeah, I drew. Yeah, I made the covers. This is publishing. What do you call it? Independent publishing or whatever.
Yeah, or Amazon KDP. That's how we do ours.
Yeah, KDP. Yeah.
Yep.
And then this is the second book to this book, which is Scratch, the sequel to The 15-Year Itch. I purchased the cover for this. I didn't make this cover. I didn't shoot it, but this one is my original painting.
I like that.
Some years prior to that. So that right there, I purchased that, and then the third book is Scarred, which I'm working on as well. I need to put that in Nanowrimo to make myself go ahead and finish that. But next would be the screenplay, like I said, and then the third book is an interesting storyline as well. And my best friend said that she would be most interested in me doing a screenplay for, and I started. It's something called The Relationship Contract. And so out on Amazon too. It's like a smaller novel, more like a novella. These are more like novellas, yes, novellas. And I also have a vintage erotic story that's on storage for sale on Amazon as well. It's called One Hell of a Performance.
Cool.
Oh, I saw that one. It's got a picture of like a motel on the outside. Motel side. I saw that. Yeah. Yep.
Adrian and Lucinda are the couple in there, and they get down.
They get down.
She always wanted to know what it was like because they're rich. They're both successful people, and she's never slept in a like regular motel, and so she saw them on their way home from their vacation home.
Slumming it, baby.
They're slumming, yeah. So she wanted I want to know what it's like to be in one of those one night.
One of the pores.
Yes. So they do that, but then he's for adventure, and he's like, okay, I don't want to go in there, because I know what's up. I'm just giving you a synopsis. And so they get in there, and foolishness ensues. As you can see, there's an eye there's an eye in there in the book on the cover. Well, that's because people always say when you go into these hotels, it could be somebody
watching you, baby.
Well, yeah. And so, but instead of being scared, they kind of
they're into it. Yeah. So the excitement that they've been looking for.
Interesting.
To
put on one performance that they'll never forget.
That's what he said, and that's one hell of a performance. Yeah.
That's awesome. And then your nonfiction book is Abandoned North and South.
Oh, Memphis. Yes, Memphis. And I've been approved for Memphis and Infrared. My publisher said I could do that. So that's another thing I'm working on right now, too. I'm sorry.
Really?
I mentioned that. So I was approved by them to do a Memphis and Infrared.
Man, that's cool.
And can people find this on Amazon, or should they go to America Through Time's website?
They can go through both, yeah.
Okay.
Amazon, even Target's website had them, but they sold out.
Nice.
I don't know if they got back. Yeah, Target's
That's a good problem.
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
Noble up here, up the street from me on Germantown, they had them physically in the store.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man, that's awesome.
So you could get this in brick and mortar.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, but I know in Little Rock, they couldn't. A couple of my friends went and looked, and they couldn't find them in there.
Well, it's a beautiful book.
In Tennessee, that is in the store. I don't know, but just check out your local Barnes and Noble, see if it's there, because it is here. Yeah.
And if nothing else, they can always special order it. And I could see why it was sold out, because it's a beautifully produced book.
Yeah, it really is.
So, Natasha Rawls, you are amazing. You are a true Renaissance woman. You have a beautiful eye for photography. Your fashion is impeccable, and we love your typewriter fascination. Totally gets in to us. That scratches a major itch. So we've been blown away. This is awesome.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun and
honored to have you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. And we look forward to next time. I know there are more stories to tell.
Yeah.
And would love to maybe in a couple months reach out to you again. And if you have the time, and maybe after the holidays, do this again, because this is awesome. And we'd love to see what's going on with you next year. And if that's all right with you, we'll catch up with you then.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I would love to. Y'all, it's been fun for real. Thank you.
Awesome. You bet. Thank you. And we'll of course we'll see you in the Instagram sphere.
Yeah.
Of course as well. Awesome. All right. You have a great night, and we'll talk to you later.